Time.
No,
Folks, we are live. Welcome to Talking Crit. I am your host, your bartender in the OSR, Eric Tenkar. My once a week work spouse is stage right,
hello.
somewhere over there, um, Bad Mike. And below us, taking on the role of Jason Hobbs,
It's not Jason Hobbs.
is not Jason Hobbs,
No.
is actually Rob Conley of Bat in the Attic. So,
Hello,
um,
folks.
And honestly, Rob is here because he thought he was going to be busting on Jason's balls, but instead, I'm sure the people that were going to bust on Jason's balls are now going to bust on Rob's balls.
Right. And
There
and,
you
and
go.
we have an open invitation to gamble on when Rob will say the word LARP. So
Oh,
I
put your
see
bets
no-
in.
But you already
money down.
did it. So
no.
I said it. I said
He
it.
didn't. Yeah, no. When you say it, so
Put
don't
your
you
money
say
down.
it.
Put your bets in.
Yeah, because we're not
Get the
doing
show.
bingo. We're not doing the random party
We're
generated
doing
bingo
5-minute
game.
intervals.
We're
So
not
let's
doing
see.
that today.
I'll tell you when we get a winner. Yeah. So we were having a lively conversation. I feel raw, Matt Jensen. You are, Matt. I know. You see this guy every Friday. It sucks. You're going to see him again on Wednesday. So we were having a lively conversation, and we told Rob just to stay on with us.
Right.
Because Rob, for those who don't know, he's a fixture in this industry. He's been around forever. I've actually known Rob on and off online for probably, 20 years. I mean, we're not really close friends or anything, but I've seen his stuff forever and ever. And he's a fixture in the industry. I mean, he's done some great OSR stuff. Majestic Wilderlands, Night of the Wolf, right?
Scourge of the Demon Wolf.
Scourge of the Demon Wolf. God dang it, which I like. It's a very, very good campaign oriented adventure. I did a bunch of other stuff too. Done a lot of maps. My favorite thing by Rob is Points of Light. I love Points of Light. I've always loved Points of Light. That's
Being
good,
continued as we speak.
Good hex crawl stuff. If you want to run a hex crawl, but you don't really know what you want to do, and you need a little guidance, Points of Light's perfect because it gives you a theme for every hex crawl, and it's a whole theme built in. So it gives you a little bit to start. You don't have to just start from scratch. You start with a little theme to work with, and it's really good stuff. And also, what's a great part about it is they're kind of like stat neutral. They don't really have any stats for anything, so you just kind of work your own, OSR stats in there. God, Matt's already given him hell.
I got him back though.
Yeah, you got him back. We made a ladder joke, okay? And Matt's problem is not walking under ladders. Walking under ladders is not what is bad luck for Matt. Actually, climbing ladders is bad luck for Matt Jackson.
Oh, he failed to save hard. Rolled a 1 there.
Tonight, I'm in Texas, and it's going to be triple digits every day this week. I am drinking a lot of water tonight, ice water, because I am so thirsty. It is so hot out here. It's unbearable. And so next week, actually not next week, the week after that, I will be in Wisconsin on vacation because I got to get the hell out of this place.
And you're going to miss VentureCon, man. You're going to miss VentureCon.
I know I'm going to miss VentureCon by a day. By one day, I'm missing VentureCon. So we need to talk all about that tonight because VentureCon's got some cool stuff I saw. That I sent you, Eric, that we're going to miss.
Dude.
Invocations to the Dark God and all kinds of fun stuff there. So we're just going to kind of cover a lot of things, I guess, tonight, and we'll ask Rob to comment also because you guys don't treat Rob with respect on the Friday night show.
Don't? Wait
no,
a second.
He's been here for years and years. He deserves respect. You guys make fun of him, give him a hard time.
We give everybody a hard time.
So. It's not, especially Joe the lawyer is just merciless. So we're going to give Rob some respect tonight. We're going to take his opinion on stuff, and
Rob doesn't believe you.
That's all right. I mean, you guys are pussycat compared to being a nerd in the late 70s. So,
but we were talking about something. I want to kind of segue right into this. We were talking about something right before we came on. I hope it's not a delicate issue or not. We were talking about the. Well, and this came out of a lot of stuff. But we have a lot of threads to cover tonight.
Yes.
Are we gonna cover the one thread we've been talking about today, Eric, or not?
Which thread? The most recent thread?
The person who shall not be named that made a video.
Oh, wait, the person that in the past threatened me with the FBI being at my
Yeah.
door.
Are we gonna pull that thread tonight?
Yeah, we'll pull that thread.
Okay,
too, why not?
So we were talking. So the subject was failed Kickstarters. If that gives you any hint. So we were talking about
it's all gonna intermingle.
We were talking about Memorial Tomb, and I mentioned that it's been 1 year since Troll Lord Games said if Benoit has nothing else to give to us, we are coming out with Memorial Tomb with what we've got on the table, and unless Ben comes out with something new every Monday, we're going to publish what we have. And so they put him on a very strict writing schedule where he had to come out with another chapter or section of Memorial Tomb every Monday. And Eric, you and I were very skeptical this was going to happen. We were like, yeah, I'll give it 3 or 4 weeks, right? I mean, we were down.
I was skeptical not because I didn't think that Benoit could actually write it, but that's a schedule that was a tight schedule for a project that has been hanging on by a thread for a long time. And surprisingly enough, Ben kept on hitting the post.
Yep, he kept hitting his goals. And the time kept rolling on, and here we are. We are officially a year later, and there is no Memorial Tomb in sight. As a matter of fact, not only is it not in sight, but Ben says he's got some more work to do on a few more books.
Right. It's going to be like 930 pages.
Yeah, it's already 900 pages long.
And that is, seriously, that is awesome. But it also is, like you said, it's another year in the waiting. But this conversation came up initially, and I want to bring this back to Rob, because I had seen, like yesterday, in my Facebook feed, one of my old posts, like when Facebook resurrects something for you, 2 years ago on this day, you shared, and it was City State of the Invincible Overlord post.
Ah, yes, another failed
and that's back when there were still, I don't know, a few reluctant heartbeats still left in that project, where the claim was that we're gonna put monies into this, and money's never materialized. And I mentioned that it is dead. Now, it is dead despite the best attempts and pretty much the volunteer work of Rob Conley below us, who went above and beyond. But here's the thing. The reason why Memorial Tomb could be brought back, there we go, the maps, which, by the way, you could have picked up at North Texas at the Blackberry booth. But here was the thing. The reason why the Memorial Tomb was able to have been, they brought out the paddles and were able to bring it back is because the monies were still there. All right. The monies were still there. So Troll Lord could invest time. They can invest man hours, but they knew that when it came time to putting this thing out, they weren't going to have to dig into their own bank account to publish it and put it in the hands of backers. That is not the case with CSIO, the City State Invincible Overlord. That money has been pissed away. It's been pissed away for years. And like I mentioned and hinted at, it's a lot of it's mismanagement. When Bob II was communicating with me years ago, one of the things he told me was that his son, Bob III, asked him for money to hire a layout artist, and then decided instead of hiring a layout artist, Bob III would teach himself layout in order to pay himself the money that was going to go to a layout artist. That's not how a successful project is going to be run. Troll Lord coming in with the Memorial Tomb is how you get something that's successful. But that's, not what we have with CSIO. CSIO had a lot of work from Rob going into it. Those maps are stunningly amazing. If you've never seen Rob's work, honestly, I'll tell you right now, go to drivethrough.com, put in Black Marsh into the search. It is free. Free as in air and water in most locations. But literally, it is free, and it is probably the best sandbox setting you are going to find in the OSR or beyond. So
I appreciate the compliment.
It's really good. Yes.
It's not a compliment, man. It's the simple truth.
And once again, it's stat neutral.
Yeah.
I mean, the great part about it is you can use it for any OSR setting.
Even games like the Fantasy Trip or GURPS Fantasy, it could be used all for that.
Yeah, it's simply, and it's an amazing job. So when I've told the story, but I'll say it briefly. When I came back to gaming, it was to do the D&D Next playtest. And the playtest group was pretty tight. But at the end of it, because the rules changed so often, once we were done, we were burned down in the playtest. We wanted to keep the core of the group together. But our game master, who happened to be Greg Christopher, who we game with, Rob and I, was like, I need to take a break. I can't run. He was burned. So I was like, all right, I will run using Osric/1E. I will run a sandbox. I ran Black Marsh because I could think of nothing else that harkened back to 1E, basic D&D, that real feel than Rob's Black Marsh. So we did a bit of a sandbox. Now, I was about a dozen years out of gaming as a GM at that point, so it was probably rough, and I thank my players, including Joe, who sure will be abusing people later, for putting up with me. But Rob really made the process an easier process than it could have ever been where I do it on my own. So that, again, is not a compliment. It's a simple statement of fact. So if you want a great sandbox and to pay nothing, then I'm going to suggest you go buy Rob's other stuff because he has some really good stuff. But
did Rob pay for all this advertisement we've given him the last 5 minutes?
No.
I don't know if we got a check or not. If
No.
Check, I'm a little worried about
we are not sponsored by Bat in the Attic or any
Games did not sponsor this week's show. Oh crap! I thought they sponsored this week's show. No, so we were just generally talking about failed Kickstarters because we had some interesting things come up, but. Yeah,
well, I do have one thing to say about the CISO that's a bit sad. It's not. It's just, even though I got my map down and out, and you can buy them from Drive-Thru RPG. There was another artist on there, Christina, and forgive me if I mispronounce her last name, but Nowaki, and she drew these artistic maps that were pretty darn good. And she had to. She needed the money up front, so when they shut down after the first 9 were done, I don't know how far along they got with the second 9, but they're actually selling her. They must have done a print run, because they're selling it on the Judges Guild store. Her map,
really?
Yeah, they haven't distributed it any of the. They distributed the first map to the backers, or her map to the backers. So they're clear on that, but they have the other maps that she got done, and they're selling them. And to make matters worse, they haven't given any of them to the backers. So obviously they got a print run made. Otherwise they didn't have. Otherwise, how they'd have physical copies to sell in the Judges Guild store?
Damn. By the way, Rob wants somebody to put $1.99 into your thong tonight, Rob. Yes. Yes, by the way, folks, yes, you can please support the live stream.
Please monetize, yes.
We are monetizing.
I wrote a two, and I have no reply.
Joe, how do we know that he has a thong? And how did you know it?
No, well,
I'm a little worried.
What goes on beyond the DM screen is between a DM and their player, I guess.
I don't know, Joe. Did your character head down to the plaza Profuse Pleasures in City State and get ideas or something?
I would say Rob's character is wherever there is a gambling device. I don't think Joe gambles in real life, but man, when I ran Rapid Athok, that ended the campaign. We couldn't get Joe out of the slot machines until we summoned like a demon. So.
Rapanathik had slot machines in the dungeon?
They have a level, yeah.
Yeah. Magic slot machines. Reminded me
of everything. They will lose everything there because people are stupid.
Yeah, they push their luck. And it's like, yeah, you can double or triple your gold pieces, or you can summon Orcus. Ah, well, there you go.
What are the odds? Come on.
I would watch it, Joe. I mean, otherwise I have to tell them about what happened to your character last night.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, Joe remembers the gambling time we had. It was Rapid Athlete was fun, but I don't do mega dungeons very well unless they're things like Dwarrow Deep.
Oh yeah, you got your copy. Man, I haven't got my.
Well, no, I got two copy. I got two copies.
Son of a bitch! I don't have a
So,
hard copy yet.
Can you do me a favor? Can you show the map from that? I'm curious how expansive this is.
It's very reminiscent of the map to the D series, though those are some of the individual maps for the entrances.
Okay.
Show them the map for the whole Dwarrow Deep. Actually,
hold
I
on.
ran a
Those
photo.
are just two levels of Dwarrow Deep.
Well, you
No,
get
there's
you get the random
entrances.
passages, and the random cave GMRs, and the random.
I have them right here somewhere. Shit, I just read a photocopy of them.
Hold on,
My own
I
personal
got
use.
all the entrances. Hold on, still going through all. There's a lot of it.
My own personal interest. My own personal. What the hell am I
You
doing?
don't. We're not talking about the mines, right? You don't want the mines.
It's a 2-page spread.
Okay.
But the dungeon
black and white.
proper is like
Here.
So it's very much like the D series where you have all these hexes and each hex is like I think 5 miles.
1 mile.
Each hex,
I
1 mile.
wonder if he's doing. Somebody was on a forum and they put together all the maps in Barrow Down, and
Barrow
they realized
Maze, yeah.
Barrow Maze. Then they realized they were all called from the outdoor survival map.
Yep.
Yep, and he's supposed to do 6 mega dungeons. The last 2 because he's done the 2 middle sections and the northwest and the northeast, and his last 2 mega dungeons will be the southeast and the southwest.
So if you get them all,
I'm sorry.
So if you get them all and put them together, you'll have the complete map.
Right, it'll be the whole
outdoor
giant
survival.
map of wilderness survival. That's a very cool little Easter egg you put in there, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But he does a lot of homages. He does a lot of homages. Like I said, that the whole Dwarrow Deep to me is an homage to the D series because he has all these charts. You're supposed to roll all these random encounters. He has several set encounters, but a lot of it's just exploring. And for exploring, he does what the D1 and 2 did, which was crap. I've got everything in this room. Hold on.
Well, as we wait for Bad Mike, by the way, great artwork on those walls. Did you get it yet, Mike? Did you get it?
I got it.
He got it.
I got it.
You got the mods?
All right. So one of the cool things about the D series was
you got the combined. You're not truly old school there. You need the actual D1 and the actual D2.
I'm selling this, Rob, because it's an extra I have. But see, they had this stuff right here. This was all sheesh. See, so when you started out way down here and you had to work your way through the Underdark, well, each of these hexes is an encounter area or a possible encounter area, and there's also they had different geomorphs for all the passages you took. Let me see, and the reason I'm showing you all this is the map you had at the beginning, and this is for those who are not familiar with the D series. And then this is for instance, this is one hex that's got a big giant encounter in it. Here's the other one. Here's the Shrine of the Kuatoa for those who know. So basically, that's what Greg did. He made these charts, and he's got a bunch of secondary and primary passages, and it's a huge homage to the D series. So if you really like D1 through 3, this is a very, very good homage to those because you're investigating this giant dwarven kingdom that's been taken over by Duergar, and of course there's all kinds of other monsters in there too. And it's just, I have read through it a couple times. The scope is amazing. It's immense, Eric. I mean, it's so big. And it's going to take me probably, I want to run it next year because I've still got to finish my Highfell campaign.
Right.
It's probably going to take me that long just to figure out what I need to do because you have to roll up a lot of these encounters. And a lot of them aren't spur of the moment roll ups. You really need to roll them up beforehand and then spring them on your party because there's a lot of dice rolling involved in rolling some of these encounters.
So
But I'm excited to run it. It's really good stuff.
so back in the Google Play Plus days, I tangled with Greg Gillespie one time with the barrel maze. So I said to him, "Dude, I got barrel maze, but your maps, first of all, he split the map exactly in half, and they're buried in the fold. And in the PDF, if you try to lift the images off the two halves of his map on the PDF, they don't quite join it together. There's missing details. So I said, dude, you need to build these things with some overlap. I don't know. He didn't like that suggestion that one bit.
Well,
Like
he changed.
Sorry,
He
what?
changed it, Rob, because what he did was eventually. So when he first put out Barrel Maze, he had Barrel Maze 1 and Barrel Maze 2, which was one half of it was one half of the Barrel Maze, the other half was the other half. Eventually, he put out, I guess you'd call it Barrel Maze Complete.
I think it was Barrel Maze Complete.
That fixed the map problem. So I don't know if he listened to you or not, but he ended up doing the right thing and making it just one giant map without, like you said, the fold or the crease or the break point right in the middle. So eventually, he did do that for Barrel Maze Complete.
Now, if you're a big fan of D1, D2, I'm going to have to find a link later, but in the this is a piece of OSR trivia. Back in the early days of the OSR, we're talking the late 2000s, a group of people, mostly AD&D fans from like centered around Knights and Knaves. Some of them posted a lot on Knights and Knaves, which is how I found out. They populated that map. All those blank hex encounters that the original detailed, they filled out and put maps out and released. The PDF is sitting out there in the wild somewhere.
Yeah, I had copied that one time, Rob, but I haven't seen it on my computer in years, and I'm hoping it made the switch when I went through different various computers. It should be on my master hard drive that I use. But yeah, I think it was a project. Was it through Dragon's Foot? I can't remember. And they basically everybody got an X, and there were some of those were really good. They did them all old blue map style, and damn, it's probably. I wonder if it's still on Dragon's Foot somewhere. I'll have to look because that was a great resource. It did have some really good hex crawl stuff.
It was one of the best of that type I ever seen.
If you can find that again, Rob, let me know because I probably got it in my files somewhere, but like I said, I haven't seen it in years. I might want to use some of those for World Deep. That might be a good resource.
You know, Dragon's Foot is just a great resource. I'm not the forums I could take or leave, but their material, their downloads that you can get, whether it's for Basic Fantasy RPG or other stuff, huge amount of really good. And then they also have L3. Wasn't L3 put up on their site?
Yeah, no, they had L4 and L5.
L4 and L5, okay.
Which, because L3 actually came out in that one set, the Silver Anniversary set. But Len Lecompton made some friends.
Deep Dwarven
Delve. Yeah, Deep Dwarven Delve. And so somebody on Dragon's Foot made friends with Len, and he had tons of notes because apparently that was his home campaign. And over the years, they kind of published it. So I want to say if you go to that site, you can still find L4 and L5. Now, there is a problem with them. And the problem was that Len would not allow himself to be edited by anybody. So there's various problems with the manuscript. You'll see if you download it and read it. It's all over the place because it was not edited properly. But if you were interested in history and stuff like that, that's basically Len's campaign. Len's passed away now, so this was his campaign. But yeah, Dragon's Foot had some great stuff like that. They had some. I think that stuff's probably all still free up there somewhere too. Now I got to find where that project was. I'm going to go in there into the forum and do some keywords, see if I can find it, Rob.
L4 and L5 are still up. According to John Miller, it's still up there on Dragon's Foot. Oh, and Joe just got home from the gym. TMI, I don't need to know that you're going to hop in the shower and be listening naked. In other words, he's going raggy. But he'll join us.
Raggy. Now, there's a guy that doesn't have any failed Kickstarters. Oh, wait a second. Hold on.
Oh! You took him out just below the naked belt. That wasn't nice.
Mm.
That's in really poor but proper
Well,
taste.
if you get him on the show, you need to ask him about that and say, "Look, dude, you got to finish this thing. Come on, man."
Well, and here's the thing too. I don't know if you realize this, but in the past, when we've gotten updates on the ref book, it's always been because of yours truly bitching. They'll never mention my name, but it's always loud voices in the gaming media. There's no louder voice than me when it comes to this shit. And honestly, why am I bitching and complaining about it? Because the original ref book was awesome. It really was an amazing piece of work that was usable with any OSR game. I would say even maybe 5e for inspiration. Just as an idea on how to run games and all that stuff. But there was a big promise on this book that has never materialized. And when you set yourself up with, there's no way it'll be later than this date, and then you're years later than that date. Yeah. Oopsie.
When will? So you think Raggy's ref book is going to come out before the heat death of the universe?
You know what? I think Raggy's book will come out somewhere between the release of the Memorial Tomb and the City State of the Invincible Overlord. Somewhere between that earlier date and that later date.
Sorry, it's already been released, but
no. Oh,
and I didn't do this. One of the backers on Kickstarter put it together over several months and tried to approach Bob, like, "Hey, look what I did! You can just use it." Bob said no.
Oh, did it use the proper system?
Huh?
Did it use the proper Judges Guild system of we're not AD&D?
No, it used the original stats.
Okay.
It's pretty much a copy of the original. It did a quite nice. He did a quite nice job of it too.
So let me just pop in here for a second. So I am not technologically inclined, but I did find what I was looking for. Dragon's Foot, it is under something called Dragon's Foot Collaborative Project Mapping the Depths of the Earth. And believe it or not, there is still a link. The last post here was 2021. There's still a link on here that still works. And it sends you to an updated map. And by the way, out of all the locations, probably I'd say 1/3 of them were done. The rest were not done.
Okay.
What's
and then some of them were finished, and it looks like there's no link to it, so you can't find it. I don't know why there isn't links to some, but there's links to probably about a dozen of these, just different.
What's the title of it called?
It's on Dragon's Foot. It's called Dragon's Foot Collaborative Project Mapping the Depths of the Earth, and they gave all the Dragon's Foot people a square and said go at it. And so some were done, it looks like, some weren't. Some were partially finished. So if you click a link on there, it takes you to a page called Greyhawk's Underdark at melcott.com. And it has some of the links to some of the adventures, apparently. So it still exists out there somewhere in the world. It still exists. And I click some of the links, and some of these dungeons are still here.
Okay.
After all these years,
I saw a combined PDF.
I did too, Rob, but I don't know if the link is to that anymore. I probably have it in my file somewhere. By the way, this project was started in 2006, and apparently they haven't worked on it in probably about 10 years or so. So it's still there if you're interested in it. And I'm glad you brought that up, Rob, because I was thinking about that, and now I'm going to have to look through here and see if there's any of these squares I can use to put and drop into Dwarrow Deep. So. But yeah, I remember there was a complete file, and I think I have it in my files, but I don't see it here on the site. It's just taking me to a page with links. So anyway, if you're interested in doing an underground hex crawl, it's got some really good stuff in there.
By the way, climbing that mountain, thought that Bad Mike was going to be doing this episode Raggy style.
What now?
It's so hot in Texas.
Oh, I'm about ready to do it. Yeah, Lady Godiva style pretty soon. Because it's so miserable here. I can't tell you. So in my lifetime, the two hottest summers in Texas history were 1980, which I remember because I was in high school, and that summer all we did was play D&D the whole entire summer inside. We weren't working. We would go to one friend's house. We'd go in a room, crank the AC down, and play whatever we were playing at the time, which probably was the G series and Descent in the Depths. And that's all we ever did. You couldn't do anything outside. It was melting. And then 2010 was the second hottest summer, but they're saying this summer will be the third hottest summer in my lifetime. So,
damn.
Yeah. And so I'm going to hit Wisconsin in about a week. My wife and I decided, screw it, we're out of here. And I grew up in Texas. I was born on the border, man. I'm used to this, but this is just outrageous. Climate change sucks, man. This is what it is. It sucks because I can't handle this. It's too hot. So yes, I may be about next week. I'll be miserable, but ready to hit the road. And then the week after that, when Eric and I do the show, I'll be nice and cool in Wisconsin. Highs in the 80s, lows in the 60s. I'll probably have Jason Braun fanning me with the giant fan. And then Alex K will be serving me a drink from his bar. I'll go to the game. Maybe I'll do the show in the game hole. That'd be great. To do the show from the game hole.
That'd be cool.
I wonder if Eric's let me do that. How fast?
Alex, pop in. But now you're going to be up there, and you're going to miss an event.
I'm going to miss it by one day. I'm going to miss Venger's VengerCon. It happens the day after I leave. So I'm going to miss VengerCon. I'm so disappointed because once I read the table of contents, the events going on there, I said, well, how can I miss the evocation to the dark gods or whatever?
Well, hey, hold on a second.
I think I sent you. You need to post those.
No, hold on. So now it's gonna take a second. I was trying to use my second screen, but of course, it's being temperamental. But I can
again the deal with our buddy Venger with V is if he just gamed, it'd be one thing, but he's got to do everything over the top. He's even more over the top than Raggy.
Right.
Raggy's shock jock, but Raggy's not the shock jock that V is.
So on Friday,
who are you referring to?
Venger Santanis.
No, I know about Bender, but who's the other guy?
Oh, Raggy. Raggy's a bit of a shock jock.
He's a little shock jock. I mean, he's taking his clothes off and doing videos, and but he's putting out. I honestly think I honestly think Raggy is doing this for a purpose, in that he really does believe in you should be able to publish whatever you want. I think I don't want to call him a crusader for freedom of speech, but I think Raggy really does this for reasons other than just making sales. I can shed some light on that. He really passionately believes that artists and writers should be paid what he feels they deserve, and I've heard more than a few people that say he pays well and easy to work with relatively. I mean, he expects you. His main expectation is to be professional. In comparison, I think V is absolute shock jock. He's Howard Stern, 1989. I mean, he's just doing this for the clicks at this point. And so I can't read this, Eric. Could you?
I got it. Magic Friday. After in game, there's a panel discussion at 9:00 for the fundamentals of GMing, playing, immersion, adventure writing, etc. Okay, that's cool. And there's some games being run by Venger and by others. But then there's a magical ritual at now for those. Now remember, I lived through Satanic Panic. Okay, I actually had a girl who showed up to one or two of our gaming sessions. First name was Sarah. Didn't know it, but she was into what she thought was like pagan magic, and that was kind of cool. So
Mhm.
whatever. Hey, we were seniors in high school. Any girl willing to join your group for any amount of time was cool. Magic ritual performed by Wenger Santanis. Attendees are welcome to participate or observe if they wish. The rebirth of Court Talus to open the way between our reality and Chalt. Now, these are all, I'm going to put air quotes here, fictional worlds that are, or fictional setting aspects or creature. This is all part of Wenger's fiction, but apparently there's a magic spell to open the portal, open the way between our reality and Cha'alt. The magical operation is from 10 p.m. to 10:15 p.m. So I was like, okay. And now, and I believe this is being billed as the only completely OSR convention out there.
Sure.
But I don't always know what that actually means when it comes. The definition can be very vague, especially when people do things like OS5 instead of OSR because it's OSR with 5e. But let me take a second to scroll down to the bottom of this page because we got Sunday. And Sunday is that panel again on GMing, playing, immersion, adventure, writing, etc. Okay. There's a blood oath ceremony.
Oh,
now, I've never taken a blood oath. Maybe I did when I was like 15. And it's like, well, actually, it was that spit oath. You do that like you mix your bodily fluids with spit. There's going to be a blood oath, and Mike, you're missing all this shit. You're going to be out there right before this, and you're missing this. Blood oath ceremony giving us the strength to fight back against the radical left infiltration of our hobby so that gaming can be great again. 6 o'clock to 6:15. Now, I don't know how many people will be left at 6:15 on a Sunday on the last day of the 3-day con to be part of this blood oath. It may be...
well, think about it. If somebody sticks around that long, maybe a blood oath is in order.
Well, yeah, they're certainly all in. I will say that. All right, Matt, I don't know if you're talking about who you're talking about in regards to Rob and LARPing, but I'm not going to read it out loud. I'm not going to read it out loud.
Not going to say it. Not today.
Yeah.
So if his performances get good reviews, I know of a few. The name I shall not mention chapters that would be glad to have him for his events.
I believe that, and I could be wrong. I believe that when he went Church of Cthulhu, the mainstream aspects turned their back on him. But I could be wrong. This is what I remember reading. It's not my specialty. Joe said he sent Raggy a message on Hangouts if he wants to join us some night.
I would love that. I would love to watch you guys talk to some shirtless Raggy. Or maybe a pantless Raggy, maybe. I don't know.
Well, pantless I could deal with as long as the camera stays above.
There's no way the camera would stay above.
Matt wants to know what the temperature currently is in Texas.
I gave him it's 100 to 105 highs. The lows, it gets down about 80, 81 at night. So it's still, at night, it's not cool. It doesn't really cool off at night. That's the bad thing, because a lot of times you go to places in the United States. I've been to some other places. I've been to Seattle when it was hot. But it gets down at night it gets down to the 60s or 50s, and it cools off. It doesn't cool off in Texas. It stays up there in the 80s and 90s, and so you don't have any respite, and it's awful. It's terrible.
Dandelion Games, was there always this much sideshow going on in the hobby? I don't remember any of this in the 90s.
I don't think we knew it. I mean, Rob,
media.
You've been around as long as I have. The social media makes everything.
Oh man,
crazy.
You're really getting me to say. But just to say that a certain activity I was involved in the 90s.
743. Who had 743 on there?
I didn't say it, but a certain activity I was involved with in '90. If you wanted drama, there was plenty of drama to be had.
Was that furries?
Oh God, no.
What Rob was what he wants to say is that when he was LARPing in back of it. No, but social media has blown everything up. I mean, this stuff, it never, you didn't have, you had local drama, maybe with your local group, or maybe if you were even bigger than that, you had I remember that there was a couple of cons in the Dallas Fort Worth area. There was scandals about, people would stealing money, or somebody was sleeping with somebody else's wife running the convention. But it was always, hearsay, really, because it wasn't on social media. Nowadays, everything's blown up by social media.
Right.
It just makes everything more, everything's more than it used to be.
And not only social media, but since everybody's hearing about it, then people that report on it, like myself, when something pops up, I will get literally, and I'm not joking, a half dozen to a dozen PMs and mentions on Discord or whatever within an hour and a half of when, I don't know, a certain influencer career started cratering, or Ken Whitman puts up a new video, and that's awesome. But it also tells you that there's nothing that you can do that's not going to be seen by many eyes.
Right. And sometimes even stuff, what that means is you don't just have the major drama, you have the little dramas that are blown up into the big thing. This whole thing with Satine and Jameson, it's like gone now. It was huge for like 2 weeks. We were doing shows on it, and it was blown up, and oh my God, 100 people posted the stuff they did to him. Yep. And they just kind of turtled in, which is a smart thing to do. Right. If this happens, the smartest thing to do is don't fight back and don't get online.
But she fought back. She did. She didn't turtle. She did.
She really fight back. She cried, and
she did her full apology where she did. And listen, this is my opinion, so don't state this as fucking fact. All right, but this is my opinion, my observation with 20 years in law enforcement, doing interviews, reading crime scenes. I tapped out after about 15 minutes of that fake. It was fake and faux at the same time, because she would cry without tears, and then, and I'm so sorry that you were upset with me. Not that I'm sorry that I fucked up.
Yeah, classic.
It's
like people that apologize and say, "I'm sorry you were mad at me," or "I'm sorry that you were upset." No. We need an apology from you and an admission of wrongness, that you did something wrong. And I think probably a lot of it is the threat of legal action, but these guys won't do that anymore. They won't come clean. They won't say, "Hey, I screwed up, and this is what I did, and I'm sorry, and I won't do it again." It's more like, "I'm really sorry I disappointed you," or "I'm sorry you were disappointed." It's never exact. If you look at the apology, it's always kind of a non-apology.
I'm sorry with the acts that I did that made you no. I'm sorry you were disappointed. I'm sorry you felt that way. I am sorry that you're not adult enough to realize that I was just being
it's all
professional,
fault.
And that you haven't gotten to that professional level, and you're still immature. I'm so sorry you're immature and unable to handle the stress of dealing with professionals like myself and my husband.
Thank goodness it doesn't work that as much as it used to work when people did that. It's now people pick that out pretty quick. Like, hey, you're not really apologizing, that.
Yeah, but that's what you're getting. Oh, and by the way, Jameson apparently is back with his company that he resigned from.
Of course he is. So Evil Cheese brought up what happened with TSR. And so I'll tell you, I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again, and you guys can tell yours too. We had no clue. I was gaming in Texas in those days. I did not go to Gen Con. We had some local Texas cons that we would go to. We knew just about as much as was published in Dragon Magazine, which was that, hey, Gary left and he went to go do something else, and here's other people. And so we're like, whoa, okay, sounds like there's a story there, but I have no clue what it is, because back then you didn't have social media. The only way you knew about what happened was if you went to cons, like you went to Gen Con, and you talked to people, and you knew people that were there. Otherwise, we had no clue what went on there. We just absolutely no clue. It wasn't until years after that when finally, so that happened, what, 1985, right? All the TSR blew up.
Right
so I got online about 1992, the very early days of internet. And that's when I found out everything that happened, because I would talk to people online. They're like, "Oh yeah, here's what happened," and I was just blown away. So it's like 6 or 7 years after this happened, I finally found out that Lorraine Williams fired him and this and that, and they came in and did whatever, and so it wasn't a big deal, just because there wasn't the same kind of social media aspect we have of the hobby nowadays. And if you weren't in the know and you weren't connected, you just didn't know. So I don't know about you guys. What did you guys know anything at the time?
I pieced a little bit together, not because I went to conventions, but I played in 2 different states. So my social circles kind of would sometimes get information from other social circles. But I still remember when New Infinities announced their new product from Gary and Frank, and I don't know, was it Kim Moham or something like that? And Cyborg Commando, and I ordered that right away, thinking how great D&D was and AD&D, and this is going to be the best shit out there. And it was shit, and it was certainly probably the best shit, if you consider best as in worst. So yeah, oh my god, what a waste of fucking money.
See, I remember that stuff came out too. The legendary journey. I mean, all the Mythos stuff. And I remember that. I remember buying it.
Which became Dangerous Journeys, because
I remember buying it and looking over and going, "Holy crap! I'm never going to run this.
Yep.
What is Gary thinking?" And I'm playing D&D because I remember
I got a treat for you guys, and you can post this link, Eric. So the old Usenet archives are still preserved underneath Google Groups. And they happen to have one called net.games.frp. And they have a collection of messages from 1984 to 1986.
Wow.
And including what I would call the first online rant about how badly AD&D sucked. It was, let's see if I can pull it up here. I have a blog post about it.
We spent a lot of time on the that one you just named back in the 90s. You could sell stuff. We used to sell stuff on some of those old Usenet things. For those who don't know, I've been buying, selling, and trading RPGs since about 92, since I got online, and we used to go to the old AOL forums. We also went to Usenet. Usenet was great for selling stuff.
Okay.
Or trading with people, too.
So this was a message by one Rich McGill. The AD&D sucks for all the previously given reasons. Try the fantasy trip. Or better yet, Traveler, asterisk, exclamation point.
By the way, Courtney says that Jason Hobbs was a lot like Rob. And yes, and honestly, Rob came in to bust Jason's balls, and then, because Jason got stuck working, he filled the role formerly held by.
We will put you to work. If you try to pop in on us last minute, we will absolutely put you to work here. So if you think you're just going to pop in and say something, nope, you may just end up on the screen.
Right. That's why the banner says Talking Crit Live without special guest, and then Rob Conley. Because initially it was just going to be without special guest Jason Hobbs. But,
So we were, the reason we were talking, I want to kind of get us back on track a little bit, because this subject deserves us talking a little bit. So the reason we were talking about failed Kickstarters is because we had an absolute blast from the past the last, 24 hours? 48 hours?
If we're talking about what I'm thinking about the video?
Yes.
The video went up yesterday, but I didn't find out about it today. And again, it's because I have an amazing, I don't know, is it the Tavern's Minions, Tenkar's Minions? Well, we actually might have artwork that's being put together so we can put
well, if I had to adjudicate it, I would say you have 30 points into contact per the GURPS rulebook.
I would say you're probably right. Per GURPS, I've got a very good system of contacts and informants, but they are great, and they sent me a video link to now calling
one of our oldest of old friends, one of our
Ken Witt,
our go-to scumbag for years. I mean, you had to have one. He was the guy that you had to go to, and he's basically been out of gaming for several. I mean, he was out of gaming for a while, but totally out of gaming for at least the last 3 years, where you don't really hear anything about him except for rumors.
And he'd do some pencils. He would brag that he pressed a few of his pencil dice on the pencil embosser that he was gifted.
He was working for Marcus King for a while before Marcus passed away. He lived in a shack. I don't know what the story was. He lived in a shack behind his office or something weird. And because Marcus loved him for some weird, crazy reason. And so, but yes, famous for skipping out on many, many Kickstarters or delivering substandard product for the Kickstarters he had. Now, we went over the whole history of Whitman one night, and he was a legit publisher for many years.
Yes.
And there's quite a few things if you look at the late 90s, early aughts that have his name on there. Was it Whit Publishing or Whitman Publishing?
I got, and I'm not going to name my source, but I had an interesting actual voice call with somebody who pointed out to me that according to the actual records from Gen Con, Whit claims that he was a Gen Con coordinator for 2 years in the late 90s. And looking at the records from Gen Con, that's impossible because you can't be the coordinator and running games at the same time. So, and apparently having their own company booth. This was probably during the days of Rapid POD.
Rapid POD was the beginning of the downfall of the Whit Empire, but he came back. Rapid POD was a saga where he was going to. This is the early aughts. So he was going to print out. It was basically like a printing cup. He's going to print your module, whatever, out. He basically just took a lot of people's money, didn't print anything.
Or he printed stuff that was substandard and fell apart.
Substandard.
And he opened it up.
But he came back years later and he ran. I guess now that's why they call it. It's kind of like called the Whitman rule. He basically ran a lot of concurrent Kickstarters and didn't. If you want to know why you can't run a Kickstarter until you absolutely finish the last Kickstarter, until you have confirmation that everything is shipped out, it's because of people like Whitman. Because Ken Whitman, what he did was he was running all these concurrent Kickstarters for thousands of dollars. He collected all this money and then he basically pooped on everybody. And he had a list of excuses a mile long. And they went on, and it's a long saga. It's probably too long to get to here. But the reason we're interested in it this week is because baby Ken's back, baby.
And
He's
not
back. He's back.
Should I check to see if he actually responded to me?
So I have a Ken Whitman related question. Have you ever seen any of these pencil dice?
Some people claim that they got them, but he was shipping them out not in the order received, but in
smallest orders
first.
Okay. Did he print something like Pencil of Healing? Oh, please.
What are you doing? This is a kid show. Wait, hold on.
Hold on.
Not a kid show.
Joe, I love you, but you're not coming back with that.
just get rid of that, Joe. God dang it. I mean, I speak with James regular respect, but that picture, no.
No.
But anyway, did he print things like Pencil of Healing on them or anything like that?
No. He'd have dice that were going to be branded. They were going to be Traveler dice, pencil dice, because Traveler's D6 based anyway. And he had a good relationship with Mark Miller. So Mark Miller also licensed Spinward Traveler as a pilot for like Netflix or Amazon Prime or something.
Yeah, he got me on that one. So
you have to understand that the Ken Whitman, for a long time, this guy has an 18 charisma. He was able to fool people like Jolly Blackburn, Larry Elmore, Mark Miller. I mean, people in the hobby that should know better than to trust people.
Yeah, I had a friend like that. He has dark charisma.
That was Ken. Ken got these people who were upstanding people in the hobby to basically front for him, and then he absolutely stabbed him in the back and effed him over. And that was his modus operandi. And he came after Eric a few times. He was hard. He had a hard on for Eric for a while, because Eric would did a lot of blog posts about him. And
oh man, he would have loved me if I was doing the YouTube channel back then. Oh my God!
So Eric, can you check out that link, because there are pencil dice on Amazon.
Oh, pencil dice is not a
everybody could do pencil dice. He just never did his. People do pencil dice all the time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, these aren't his.
Well, there was only one hit for pencil dice, so.
Yeah, well, it's because his dice never hit the market. He did plain pencil dice. Then he was doing. I think he was also doing Castles and Crusades pencil dice.
Because he did all kinds of stuff towards the end because he was just trying to make a buck.
Because he was also doing a Castles and Crusades video series, supposedly.
So what's his
back.
Current? So why is he back?
He had a video. He looks fit and trim. He's got a beard and mustache, and he said, "Hey, I'm back, and I can't wait to hear from everybody and talk to people." And so the first thing I saw this, Eric, what's the first thing I said? Well, I'll tell you the first thing I said was one of two things. He's going to do the apology tour, and he's either going to say substance abuse or mental illness. And he's going to try to sweep this all under the carpet to weasel his way back in the industry, one or the other. And I am not saying anything against people who actually have substance abuse problems or mental issues, because people do. People in our hobby do, like any other hobby. But I'm very cynical when it comes to people like Ken Whitman.
So, yes. So Ken actually said he wanted to come on. I'm looking forward to doing a Zoom with you and answering all your questions. But I'm sure the answer to every question is, I've been diagnosed with ABC or XYZ. And why do I say that? Because in the past, his excuse for being the failure at actually supplying anything that anybody actually backed him for was he was diagnosed with CTS, which is a concussion-related syndrome that happens to a lot of pro football players. And guess what? When he claimed that, there was only one way it could be diagnosed: an autopsy. It was the only way. So he was claiming
he's brain dead, is what you're saying.
And apparently, he was claiming that he found a doctor who could make that diagnosis. So, I suspect that Mike is right. That Ken is going to make a new claim, and that's why everything is all right. But he's here, by the way, folks, to give advice, and he's here. And when the archaeologists come back 20 years from now, Ken is going to what they're going to look at and go, well, society in the 2020s, everybody looked like Whitman, and everybody had his. This is what society was like, because in 20 years they'll totally forget everybody else. Whitman will be the key.
So the shot is he has a video up. So I subscribe to his channel because. Damn it, I love train wrecks more than probably anybody. If that train's going towards if that car is stuck on the track, the train's going there, I'm stuck. I'm watching it. Okay, so I'm watching YouTube videos about train wrecks all day long. So I subscribe to this channel because this has the train wreck potential unheard of. Yes. But just to let you know, he's back, and I think at this point he may have burned every bridge there is to burn, because he was in the film industry for a while. He was a minor extra in some episodes of MacGyver, and
that was actually pretty funny watching him get tasered.
He didn't speak though; he had no speaking lines, right? He's just
he went.
I wonder if he got paid for that, because they have to get paid for those speaking lines. I don't know.
Yeah,
but
and then he
did a few minor little things here and there, but that didn't. I don't think that panned out for him either. He had some people saying that he was shooting some audition videos for him, and he, of course, effed that up like he effed up everything else, and so they were trying to sue him for money they gave him for audition videos. I mean, so he's just
here's one of the allegations. For folks that don't remember this, the Knights of the Dinner Table live action series that was filmed by our friend Ken Whitman, Witless, whatever you want to call him. So now he only supplied like the first episode. The other episodes literally went up in smoke when his friend's barn burned down, and that's where he stored every copy of the hard.
All his stories are like that. They all have. They're
But
long, shaggy dogs.
what I have heard from
happens.
other sources, now can I confirm this 100%? No. Is it likely? Yes. Is that all this other filming that Ken's been doing, he's been using the equipment that he got with the money from the backers of the Knights of the Dinner Table live action series. He was using that equipment to film, all right, some adult material that I got.
Hello. You're told not to kink shame people for that.
Yeah, can't kink shame somebody, but when you're making money off it, I'll point it out.
He was kink shaming. He kink shamed.
He scammed a woman in Atlanta, and she was very public about it.
That was the audition tape, I think, right?
Yeah.
Or the audition tape. Yeah.
She made criminal complaints on that one. I actually spoke with her. It's a shame. Then he went to be the vice president of social media for an otherwise African American owned company. Don't know how long he stayed at that location, and he kept on moving. By the way, he was always a moving target. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that. You can fill in the blanks on that one yourself. I'm not going to hypothesize, but he was constantly in motion. So
he lived in a room in the back of one of Marcus King's stores for a while and ran one of his stores because Marcus felt like he owed him a life debt because he stopped Marcus from killing himself once. And so he subsisted off Marcus's goodwill for a while, which is sad because Marcus defended him quite a bit, which is, I thought was kind of lousy. I mean, you could be friends with somebody that's a lousy human being, but you don't have to try to make excuses for the lousiness. Just say, look, this guy's a lousy human being, but I owe him a favor. Or like if your family, let's have his family. You might have family that, this family, he's not good, but he's my brother, or I say that a lot about my brother, me, because I'm, he's my brother. I know he takes his clothes off at the con all the time, but he's my brother, and so he's walking around at speed all the time. I know. So, but that's kind of how you should act instead of just trying to, oh no, Ken's a great guy. He's never messed me over. Well, he messed a lot of other people over. He may not ever messed you over, but he sure messed over a lot of people. So, long story short, he's reaching out. He's reaching out to people saying, "Hey, I'd like to talk about what happened." And
by the way, I'm a victim.
I'm interested in seeing what's happening, but I'm very skeptical.
Listen, I honestly, I told Ken we'd love to have him on and schedule him. I would love to have you on, Ken, if you're watching this, because you might, who knows. It'll be myself and Mike, but I'll let you know right now, you will be answering questions, and I will be doing my research. So if you think you're going to come in and blindside me with anything, it ain't going to happen.
I'll tell you one thing. I understand the issues of mental illness. I understand the issues of addiction and different things that can derail your life. But usually a lot of these things involve 12-step programs or 10-step programs, not just alcoholism, but a lot of things, Gamblers Anonymous, etc. One of the steps is always restitution. And I'll say right now, if he wants to come on the show, one of the questions he's going to be asked is, what are you going to do for the people who you stole money from? Because that's what he did. He stole money. It's not, there's no other way to look at it at this point.
Right.
And you can't blame other people for it. You can't blame, well, somebody got my bank account. I mean, I don't want to hear that. I just want to hear, what are you going to do to make it up to the people who you absolutely screwed over? The hundreds and hundreds of people that lost money on your stuff. And because I don't know what you can do. I don't know what restitution you can do, to be honest with you.
There's probably scores of people too that he'll never ever be able to find, even if he wanted to pay them back.
Sure,
at this point,
that they're dead, they're moved, who knows who they are, where they are, nothing worked. Yeah, I mean, come on,
well,
he's never going to be able to make up for
too.
that.
No, you tend to write off that stuff. If like the Traveler movie that never happened, or the Castle Crusade movie that never happened, or the episodes of the One Nights at the Dinner Table episode was really good. The one that was put together and came out was very good. And Ken's behavior in that was shameful. The way he did that, the way he went to Gen Con that year, and Jolly was the one that brought the episode to show it, and Ken tried to glom onto that. Do you remember that, Eric? That whole
and he tried. The party was not being thrown by Ken, yet he tried to invite people to the party and then claim that he was throwing it. because
it was thrown in spite of him, not because of him. It was in spite of him.
We got Mr. Gillespie in the house.
Hey, we already did the Doro Deep pitch earlier this
show. Here, I'll show it again real quick. and Greg, since you're here, I'm gonna put you on the spot. I backed the Kickstarter. You sent me a copy, so now I got 2 copies. I want to give away a copy on one of these shows. So maybe we'll bring you on to discuss Doro Deep, and then we'll give away a copy. How's that sound?
I'm still waiting on my copy. I hope I get it before my trip.
You can't get a copy. You can't get your copy.
Hey, Greg, I saw you on Inappropriate Characters the other night. It was pretty good, actually.
I did too. I watched it too. You know what? You were the one bright spot among those guys pimping each other's projects. Those guys spend more time pimping their projects than do anything. And I'm having fun because I like to watch that show. It's fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, they must spend 30 minutes pimping their own projects. It's hilarious.
I think congratulations living off of that too, doesn't he? I think he does. I don't know.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
I was just gonna say congratulations on getting Doro Deep out.
And number one, it was number one in drive-through. I think it's still number one now.
Nice. That's a lot harder these days when we all focus on RPG now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Actually, the other night when you were on the show, I think I threw a super chat tip over there to those guys, and I asked you, Greg, one question was, do you have any idea with not the numbers or the dollars, but the ratio between the 5e version and the old school version of your first?
I thought that was a good question. That was a good question.
I was wondering because but I can understand why it's so complicated. He didn't have the numbers. He didn't look into it because he focused on other things. And plus there's so many earlier versions of Barrel Maze that, and then it came up with the one shot on the 5e. It was like, here it is, that kind of thing. But now I'm wondering, do you happen to know, same question, ratio, because you published both of these things, 5e and the OSR version at the exact same time. So nobody had a head start per se. Do you happen to know the ratio? Well, again, not numbers, not dollars, nothing like that, just ratio. I'm curious.
Yeah, 2 to 1, 3 to 1, even.
Yeah. Something along those lines, if you know. And if I don't even know, that's hard to, if it's.
I think Greg made a point the other night on the Pundit show that I thought was interesting, and I think it's probably true. Is that at this point, Barrel Maze has been out 10 years, I believe, 10 or decade.
Yeah.
It may be the best-selling OSR dungeon of all time.
You got it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you can have a debate. You can have a debate about that. I was trying to think what else you could throw out there that would be that sold those kind of numbers for an OSR based product.
No, I wasn't Dwimmermount. We know that, but
well, Kevin Crawford, worked.
Kevin Crawford stuff, right? But
isn't that make it
that OSR? It's strange.
It is, but it's not. Listen, if OSR means that others can write off your material and you have to have open game content, no, it's not OSR. Is it stuff that if you played AD&D, you can look at his stuff and feel comfortable running it and playing it? Then it's OSR. It depends on where you draw that fine line. But I don't think he has any mega dungeons. It's all settings.
Stonehell is OSR, but I think Stonehell is selling a lot right anymore. It was really big for its.
That was Curtis, though, right?
No, that was Michael Curtis, and that for the first year, I think Stonehell Part 1 did really, really well, and then he took a long time to make Part 2, and I think he has never really promoted it since then.
Okay, so here's the roster of adamantine metal products that's the highest level that are OSR. We had World Without Number. Still don't know what the deal with the Hero Kids is, but it's all littered all over the place.
It's everything for everyone.
Huh. Black Hack, second edition.
Black Hack, that's a pretty, Black Hack's, that guy has done a lot of promotion on his stuff, and it seems
is Tiny Dungeon OSR?
It's if you consider Open D6 OSR, then yes, but no.
Okay.
So Whitman just popped in and said, no wonder you guys dislike me. All those things are 80% wrong. I look forward to talking with you. Well,
right.
we're gonna have to talk to you about that because I I don't know. Ken.
All right, stars
pretty,
without numbers. Stars without numbers.
Stars without numbers, definitely. Yes.
I'm not going to be derailed here.
Yes. Never derail Rob Conley.
But see, okay, I'm talking about adventures, Rob. So Stars Without Numbers is a system. Black Hack's a system. I'm talking about what OSR adventure has probably sold more than Barrel Maze. I mean,
all right. Well, I'm looking at. I think
Scourge of the Demon War. Scourge of the Demon War, maybe.
Why am I doing this? There's an easy way of.
We got Rob going.
That's it. He's going to do a spreadsheet. I see it coming, guys.
No.
Incoming.
It's easy. You go to Drive Through RPG, pick on Rule System, Old School Revival, and then you pick on
Revival.
That's what they call it. That's what they call it.
All right.
And then I'm going to pick on non-core rule books.
Well, Rob's going deep. I'll tell you what would have, could have been, maybe should have been, but never was because of a certain who. If Jeff Tellini and Castle Crusades had the ability to complete Castle Zagig. No offense, Greg. I'm talking just pure nostalgia sake here. Gygax involved, the Ultimate Dungeon Castle. I think it would have been number one by a long shot.
I think
it would still be selling right now. It would be selling right now
instead of Crusades would have been the OSR system.
They would have absolutely.
It would absolutely be still selling because if you remember when after Gary died, they had to destroy all their product at the end of the year, so they just threw tons of that stuff in the trash. Because they couldn't sell it anymore, but that stuff would have sold. It'd be selling to this day.
I got a copy of it. They had one for me, and basically it was one of the last ones they were able to get out. I kept telling them I was broke ass poor back then. And I said, "Dude, hold it for me." Every time I talk to Steve, hold on to it. Save me a copy. I'm scrounging up to $50. So he held the goddamn thing.
Stonehill Dungeon was really big, but that was 10 years. That was 2009. Where we got
so this is interesting. I don't think Greg categorized his product as an adventure because it doesn't. It appears as number one in the OSR category, but it does not appear that the number one adventure module, the hottest one, I should say, is the Halls of Arden Dune Complete.
Impossible.
There's no way that's sold more than Barrel Maze. That's like $500. It's
$100.
It's not the best. It's hottest is not necessarily the best selling. Hottest is what makes the. I'm sure. What
Arden Vol's been out for 2 years too. It's only been out for a couple of years. It's really good. I have a PDF of it. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But it's too expensive. There's no way it's sold more than Barrel Maze, and it's only been out for 2 years. Yeah. And I guarantee there's not that many people around that are going to drop that much on a PDF or the hardbacks.
Can't be.
How much were the hardbacks, Eric? Do you remember how much?
It was like $600 shipped, I think.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
You guys remember those third edition mega dungeons? I think one was called the World's Biggest Dungeon. There was another one.
Yeah,
and then there was this
white.
Then there was like White Castle or Castle
something. Castle White Rock.
That was good.
Yeah. Those aren't OSR though. Those are not.
Those
OSR.
are definitely not OSR. But I mean, OSR. It's big ass maps. We don't care about balance.
Close is Stonehill. I think Stonehill would maybe give it a run for its money, but Stonehill hasn't sold much the last 7 years, 6-7 years, because Michael hasn't promoted it, and I don't think the DCC is OSR, right? DCC is not considered.
Courtney,
just so you guys know,
by time. Okay.
So you know that Arden Vol Complete is a gold seller, while Barrel Maze Complete is a platinum seller. So Greg has way more sales than Arden Vol.
Courtney just explained it. Hottest is dollars divided by time.
That's good, Cardi. I like that.
There's a lot of dollars in Arden Vol, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So John says there was a panel in Castle Greyhawk featured Paul Stormberg, Jeff Tellini, other luminaries. Stormberg said that Gail Gygax is waiting to do Castle Greyhawk the right way, the way Gary would have wanted. Oh dear, come on, please. Paul. I know you have to suck up to Gail a lot, but come on.
Yeah, that's
okay. So what is the right way here? Because we all know by now that all these old time mega dungeons, the few pages we see, they're all like memory aids, and Gygax and Dave Ayerson, so Adlib had the stuff.
Here's the deal. Paul has access to Paul may be one of the only people on Earth that has access to Castle the original Castle Greyhawk. The reason being is because he was authorized by Gale and the Gygax estate to auction off all of Gary's stuff, which he's been doing for I think like 10 years now.
Time out. Not the Gygax estate. That's the reason why.
I'm sorry. By Gale. You're right.
By
not
Gale.
The
and that's
by
the reason why the
so
will
one of the things
up.
he found in there was Gary's original. So he has seen Greyhawk the dungeon. He's actually seen it, probably photocopied it, put it in his computer for historical purposes, whatever. The problem, though, with Paul, and I respect Paul a lot. I like Paul as a human being. He's been a special guest in North Texas several times, is that he's beholden to Gale because Gale, he makes a lot of money off auctioning Gary stuff. He'll be auctioning Gary stuff now for another 10 years. Gary had so much stuff. Right. And it's an unbelievable amount of stuff. So he's been running 2 or 3 Gygax auctions the past.
Well, here's the thing. We ever explain
time out. I'm going to make a timeout here because I want to clear something up. What happened is once he did that, once the estate got valued at over $50,000, because the first lot in the auction was over $50,000 just for the first lot. That is when the Gygax estate / Luke and the other siblings came forward with the will that was never filed. My understanding from sources, and I'm not going to say my sources, all right, my understanding from sources is that it wasn't filed because the family didn't feel like it was worth filing for an estate that was under $50,000.
Right.
Leave it in Gale's hands. Now that the estate might be worth $250,000 or more, now they want it filed. So it wasn't. Gale was not running on a different will. There was no will filed until now. Now it's going to probate, and I every week or two I update to see what's happening in Wellsworth County. Whatever
those will things take forever. They take forever. I mean, years and years and years. It's not unusual at all for this. This will probably take years and years to go through.
And right now, there's actually 3 main parties involved. It's Gale, the rest of the family, and then a lawyer appointed by the court to represent Gary's estate itself. So here's the thing. Paul Stormberg, in my opinion, can't afford to piss off Gale, but he also can't afford to piss off the children. Because in the end, right now, as far as I understand, there's no movement on these auctions because it hasn't been decided who controls what. Once that control happens, then Paul will be back in the money spot.
Did you remember? Well, I don't know if you remember this, but a few years ago, Paul took the auctions off eBay and started doing private auctions.
Yep, I remember.
That's right.
Keep the full money.
Okay. So back to my question: did Paul ever, without? I mean, he probably wouldn't share a photocopy, but he ever describe what a page of this Gygax Greyhawk looked like?
I've never seen it, but he's always he's at collectors, whatever they call it.
There are slides of Castle Greyhawk, apparently.
Yeah. But I don't think he's ever. I mean, he could probably tell you, but maybe he wouldn't. I don't know. He appears at GaryCon every year. I guess you could ask him at GaryCon if somebody came there and said, "Hey, what did it look like?" But I think it's to his advantage to keep that tighter than a knot, right? I mean, he's not gonna spill the beans on any of that. And so Paul saying that, I'm very cynical about Gale. Gale is not going to turn down money. I mean, Gale can make money by publishing what they call, quote unquote, the original Castle Greyhawk. That would be great for historical purposes. It'd be awesome too, because you'd see exactly what Gary did back then. Because we all know that the gig was not the original Castle Greyhawk. That was Castle Greyhawk written with Jeff Talanian plus some extra stuff to it. Because we've all seen the famous sheet where it just shows this big giant dungeon, and Gary has a list about like 8 monsters. I mean, he this is all run in his head. He didn't have these elaborate room descriptions written down or anything.
Well, I'm sure he had a few notes on different rooms to help remember it. But yeah, I think he totally ad-libbed. When you look at Tego Manor, when you look at the Castle Blackmore in First Fantasy campaign, they're all like stuff I write for myself. I mean, I'm not saying I'm comparing myself to him, but what I do in order to do a weekly campaign, I don't write a G1, with every box description. I don't have time for that.
Right.
So I just write down kitchen, 3 giant fighting among themselves, and I remember that. And
Or
so
evil
it depends.
cult members getting ready to kill the PCs. not that it just happened like last night.
Oh, you want to go there?
Oh, it was bad.
Know how
It was
they got
bad.
Here we go. Inter-party.
He got
conflict.
pummeled.
I got my ass
1d3
kicked.
damage.
Well, that is humbling, getting your ass kicked. Right?
I got my ass kicked. I was like, oh, but I will intimidate these guys easily. I'm standing with bloody feet on an altar, screaming at them. They just came and ripped me apart with their knitting needles, whatever else they had.
Well, no, what's funny was what happened to Greg's character.
He started the fight. No sympathy. No fucking sympathy for that guy going in there.
His own
This is a city adventure.
Critted him 3 times.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Just so you know, my crit rule is an exploding crit. So if you roll multiple natural 20s, you get to add that damage in over and over again until you don't roll a natural d20. And so we had a round where his sister, charmed by this cult leader, clocked him, and I rolled 3 nat 20s in a row. There's only 7 points of damage, but again, he was only first level, so it counted for a lot.
It was a wee bit. By the way, Ken Whitman has a comment, and it's pretty accurate, but I'm going to make one little adjustment here when I get to it. Ken worked at TSR during the Lorraine Willing times when Lorraine sued Game Designer Workshop. The reason why Game Designer Workshop / Gary lost, Gary was working on it while employed for TSR. Lorraine had a copy, can prove it, Dangerous Journeys. It was initially advertised as Dangerous Dimensions, and that alliteration also got them in trouble because Gary was trying to work off the D&D and just have DD. So, yes. But yeah, I've spoken with Steve Marsh about that stuff. So
well technically, they didn't. Technically, Gary and GDW did not lose the lawsuit. They got money whipped out of. They couldn't keep up with TSR. So technically, they lost. It's kind of like the way the Gygax boys lost to Gale. Did they really lose? No, they had to give up because
they just got outspent.
They got outspent. It came down to. So that's what happened with GDW and Gary. They got outspent by TSR. So
and TSR, at least on paper back then, had a lot of funds to play this.
Yep.
And here's the thing to think about too. I am not going to say that new TSR is in the right. I'm not going to say that. But your new TSR and you're against Hasbro, that is not a single soldier with a sling looking to take down the Cyclops. You ate somebody.
Legal suicide, really.
Yeah, really. But I mean, so it really comes down to, does right or wrong make a difference at that point? Probably not, because you're never going to get to that point. You're going to get to the point where somebody runs out of money, and it's never going to be the big corporation.
Right.
Yep.
So, why would Gary do design work on different fancy RPG that would compete with AD&D, TSR's flagship, when he was employed at TSR? Likely because he knew he was not going to be employed long at TSR. I've heard the stories that Lorraine had been looking to get rid of him and looking for an excuse for a while. If you've ever worked in an environment where people whisper behind everybody's back, I have. You learn not only to protect yourself, but to be ready for when X happens, what's my plan B? Maybe you never need plan B, but maybe you do. Do I think that Gary was working on it for Game Designer Workshop at the time? No. He was probably working on this as his own project. The problem is, if you're employed by a company, and this goes for my father when he was employed by the phone company, he jury-rigged the circuit, saved the New York metropolitan area from losing telecommunications. What do you get for it? He got a life-size poster made of him and an attaboy and a letter.
Attaboy and a pat on the back. Nice.
And the patent, because he got patented, what he did went to the phone company, New York Telephone at the time. Why? Because he was working for New York Tel. Any of the work that you did while working for New York Tel was owned by New York Tel. Same thing with, I'm sure, with TSR at the time. Any RPG work that you did on or off the books was owned by.
You got to understand that. So, talking to Steve Marsh, Gary was working on a lot of stuff at all times. Gary had this project with Steve called Shadowlands that never saw the light of day. Now, Steve still has a lot of documents. Matter of fact, I think those documents might be in the possession of Bill Meinhardt now. But he at one point had all the Shadowland stuff that he and Gary had worked on together. And so at that point, Steve Marsh didn't even work for TSR. He was working for Chaosium. And so they were still working on this Shadowland thing. They exchanged a lot of emails, it's about a lot of letters about Shadowland. So he was always working on stuff, whatever. I mean, just all kinds of different things. He was writing Gord the Rogue stuff. He was, working on the Shadowlands. There was another project I think that he was even doing besides Shadowlands. And so he had his, there's a lot of things you work on, but you have to be real careful about what you're working on when you're working for another company, because it can always come back to bite you in the ass.
Yeah.
That's all. And make sure you examine your employment contract carefully.
Yes.
More from Ken. When I left Geneva and TSR, the last person I said goodbye to was Gary. In his house, the living room was full of boxes with walking paths. Boxes and books were 4 inches. I'm going to say it means 4 feet tall. So he's kind of a hoarder. And yes, TSR grossed $40 million in '94. 80% was from novels.
He was Gary did have a lot of stuff. That's why Paul's journey to have to sell Gary stuff is taking so many years, because he knew it was going to take about a decade or longer, because his basement was apparently full, top to bottom, front to back, top to bottom. So I remember. So right after he had right after Gail had sent it to him, he talked to Doug. I don't know if I told this story very much, and I don't think Paul's ever told the story. But when Paul was approached by Gail about selling Gary's stuff, she was even though Paul at the time, and he still is a very well-known name in the auction industry. I mean, he does a lot of famous people's auctions basically. And this was a huge coup for him to be able to sell Gary Gygax's stuff. He approached Doug about borrowing some money, and I don't know what he needed the money for. I think Gail required some upfront money. To ship the stuff. It was going to be shipped to Paul, and she was going to make Paul pay for it. And we're talking, it was a huge amount of money. And he approached Doug, and Doug lent him the money. And I'm sure Doug got paid back for that, but Doug was part of that whole deal. So while this is going on, Doug and I shared a lot of emails with Paul about what he was getting in the mail. And so he told us some of the stuff he was getting. It's pretty incredible. One of the things, like he would say that he opened a box and it was full of Blackmores, like brand new Blackmores, the supplement, like maybe 20 of them, 20 Blackmores in a box. You just open up like, holy crap, right there, that's worth, thousands of dollars. I mean, and that was the kind of thing that he was dealing with, opening boxes, just finding all the stuff. So Gary was a bit of a hoarder, in that he just, I mean, how long do you have to have boxes of Blackmore? That was from what, 1977 or 78, and to have brand new copies? I mean,
70,
that's crazy.
Late 75, early 76.
But there was a lot of stuff like that in there. Paul told Doug and I, just crazy stuff. And that's where if you haven't seen the warehouse, we have posters in the other room. Let's take a trip. People.
Hey guys, I got to drop. All right, have a good rest of the show. I
Later,
will talk to you all later. Take it easy.
All right, we're taking a trip.
Uh-oh.
Into the warehouse.
Into the warehouse we go. Temperature increases by 30 degrees.
So so you see on the wall those posters, right?
Nice.
Yep.
I
So
think
those are all-
I think I spotted Divine right there.
Oh yeah. Those are all from Gary Gygax's basement. Oh, that's nice. So Paul had 2 sets of those, 2 sets of posters.
He auctioned them way back when. Doug bought one. Doug and another guy, I can't remember who, bought both sets, and so he let each of them have a set. So those are actually from Gary Gygax's basement. So he had those posters rolled up in tubes for, once again, probably 30 years, 40 years. So yeah, Gary was a bit of a hoarder. He did have lots of goodies in there, and I think these Gygax auctions have been extremely lucrative for Gail. It might be how she's surviving. To be honest with you, I mean, considering
are they still going on? I thought they were.
They're not going on eBay anymore. So,
but they're going on.
Say that as you will. You know, take that as you will.
If they're going on privately and the courts finds out,
I am not going to disparage Paul, and I have a feeling that he probably has shut those down at this point. I was actually looking on the KM page, and I have not seen him run an auction in over a year.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah,
he may have shut that down.
Yeah, and I'm not sure he was happy about it, but remember now Paul's also the president / face man now for the Gygax Memorial Fund.
Right. But so he's not going to talk bad about it. He's not going to talk bad about them. So anything he says, like I said, I don't have no personal animosity toward the guy. I'd like to invite him as a guest again in North Texas, but he is not going to make Gail mad or cross Gail in any way whatsoever, because he's got that. I mean, that's a lifetime achievement award. selling off Gary's auction stuff. I mean, you could subsist on that at what, 20% or however that's usual rate of auctions. I want to say 20%. You could subsist on that for quite a long time if you're making, I don't know, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 every auction. So plus your other auctions. So
Yeah, no,
I posted a link to the complaint that TSR filed against.
Well, now you think you've posted a link, Rob? You didn't post it. You got to put the link into the private chat, because it won't allow
private chat. And
when you post a link, anybody posts a link, it automatically goes to spam, because that's a filter, so nobody will post porn links.
Got to keep the riffraff out of here.
Tricked me.
I didn't mean to trick you, Rob. Just saying.
No, you didn't trick me. The algorithm.
No, it did. Oh, because it allowed the rest of your comment to go through, because it wasn't like a sex bot spam. But I can put up the link, so I'll put up the link there. I know these legal actions I always find to be very interesting, because I mean, honestly, you're going to find often that both sides are a little bit in the right and both sides are often a lot of bit in the wrong. But they were going to be outspent. Game Designer Workshop was going to be outspent. And I own Dangerous Journeys. I never ran it because, honestly, the system sucked. I owned, I think, one or two of the setting books, and they were better, but the system still sucked.
Well, I'll tell you something.
I own the setting book.
Take this with a grain of salt, but Frank Mentzer, I talked to him years later about the GDW thing, because at the time he was working for Gary's company, right? I mean, he was the number 2 guy at Gary's company. Frank Mentzer was. Kim Mohan was there, a couple other people, and he says when it was all said and done, he was cut a check by TSR, and he said Gary was too. The court found some issues with what they had done and made them write him a check, and I don't know how much it was. I don't know. Whatever, but this is what Frank told me, that he and Gary were cut checks by TSR. So I don't know. So who knows? That's Gary's gone now, and Frank really can't talk to anymore. So I don't know. Yep, Dangerous Journeys. There it is.
Yep, the Epic of Earth. I was more interested in the setting of the system. I think I browsed it, and it was overly complicated for what.
You should hear Mark Greenberg's tales of converting Necropolis to Swords and Wizardry and 5e. It was quite the journey, because I mean, that's a great adventure, but you reading it, the stats don't make any sense in that rule set.
Right. I
mean, you could tell it's a great Gygaxian type adventure, but Mark had to translate that and translate it to human speak. To something we could run. And by the way, Necropolis should be out, this year sometime. So we ran a Kickstarter for it last year.
Who's publishing it?
Frog Out Games.
Oh, excellent.
Marcelo, Legendary Adventures is a masterpiece. I'll die on that hill.
Legendary is just really, it's a cool system. I know people that are really loyal to that system that really like it a lot.
The box set reads a lot better than the full-size books. I have the core books. Signed by Gary, because that was the deal, and I was like, "Woo, yes!" But the box set reads so much better. It is so much easier to absorb and digest to somebody new to the system.
John, I think that's why that makes sense then that Gary and Frank were written checks at the end. It may be one of those things where the court found some issue with it. I don't know. Like I said, I'd love to talk to Frank if Frank wasn't being what Frank is now. I would love to talk to him about that because he probably could shed a lot of light on that. But I don't know that. Like I said, I don't know if they lost as much as they just ran out of money at a certain point and had to give in. And maybe the checks were a settlement. I don't know. Settlement with TSR to, hey, we'll drop this case and we'll not publish it anymore. But can you wipe this out?
Who owns the right to James's journey? Was it sold to TSR or?
I believe TSR owns the rights to that now. Yes, they own the rights to this. They'll never publish it again, I would think. But
Good Lord, how many SBI titles and other titles are
tons.
Go to TSR, then Wizards, now owned by us, bro.
And nobody cares about it. I mean, this is how little Wizards cares about that stuff. I know a guy that works for Wizards, and they had a whole warehouse that basically it was a reference warehouse where they have a copy of everything ever published by TSR, right? I mean, even going back to whatever. They actually had the picture off the Holmes box set in there. The painting was in there for years. Now it's in a museum because it was sitting in the back of a freaking warehouse for 20 or 30 years. But anyway, this guy who we know, Eric and I know, I don't want to use his name because I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but he – at a certain point, they said, yeah, we need to get rid of all this shit. Who wants something? Just go and grab whatever you want and take it home with you. And so this guy's in there grabbing shrink-wrapped modules. I mean, crazy stuff you never even see. I mean, just prototype things, just sets of the old records. I mean, just crazy stuff. They're just like, yeah, whatever. Just take whatever you want. We don't want to keep this warehouse open any longer. And in the back is where somebody said, hey, look at this. This is the original painting for the Holmes box set. It's just sitting here in the back with like a tarp over it. I mean, that's how little they care about their heritage. So
I remember when the article showed that, I thought, oh, that's actually a beautiful painting.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody realizes that none of this, sadly, none of this SSI or any stuff's ever going to see the light of day because they don't care. They don't care if it ever gets published again or anybody does anything with it. They just don't care about that stuff. And I know years ago, they've never republished the original tournament modules for Lost Tomoakin, Ghost Tower of Inverness, and what's the other one? S4, whatever S4 is.
I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, but those are the 3 tournament modules. They've never republished a facsimile of those tournament modules, done anything with those. And that's weird, too. I mean, that would be a cool thing to come out. That'd be awesome. I'd buy it. I'd buy a facsimile of those, of the original Ghost Tower with the Arrow Otis cover and the original Lost Tomoakin, the original...
Oh, you mean the manuscript that was actually a tournament module?
Yeah, the actual tournament modules that were run before they turned it to a TSR module. So that so if you look those up, there's an actual tournament module. There's only like 300 copies or whatever, and they've never published those. They never published the tournament originals, which I would think that'd be a very cool historical thing to have published. But they never done that. I don't think they really care.
The problem is that dollar that could have gone into republishing those was worth more being spent elsewhere.
They had a very short period of time, Rob, when they were being very nice to the old school. That was right after 4th edition crashed and burned. Before 5th edition came out, remember they put out those really nice hardbacks, the Dungeons of Dread, and they've got a couple down here. So.
Well, I put a link up to Necropolis. It was the Kickstarter. You can, if you go to the Frog God site, they still have the old D20 one from Necromancer Games back in the day. But the new one is still, I guess, it's shipping from the Kickstarter from this past fall.
Chinese shipping. It's going to take forever.
It should, once Kickstarter backers have their copies, they'll put the PDF up on sale, I'm sure, and whatever print copies they have left.
But that real short period of time, they published the S series in the really nice hardback, the A series in that beautiful hardback, and they published they republished the 1st edition rulebooks, remember, and the 2nd edition rulebooks. Those were beautiful. Facsimiles. They were really nice. And they could have kept doing that. I mean, I don't think they were losing money on them. That maybe they weren't making a ton, but they were absolutely beautiful. They did a great job with those. That was the only time in the past 15 years they've thrown anything to the old school and said, "Hey, we're going to give you guys something."
They knew they screwed up with 4E, and they were making nice, and they knew that the OSR was up and coming, and
they needed an income stream between 4E and 5E.
So they went to their old people. They went to their old fans who they knew would cough up the money for that because they were.
Even 3E players would cough it up because these were good looking books.
Yes.
And remember, a percentage of the proceeds went to
the memorial.
Oh,
that's $100 that North Texas will never get back. The $100 we sent to Gail for that. Boy, that was a sucker punch. Should have known better.
But hey, we didn't get that one statue, so maybe it worked out.
The Fonzie statue. Hey, we're gonna have Gary out there with 2 thumbs up.
So John says, speaking of WotC's errant ways, does anyone have intel on their soft reboot of D&D? I think Eric's theory is the best theory I've heard so far.
Yeah,
about the reboot. It's going to be the softest of soft reboots.
Yeah, it's going to be new artwork, new layout, new wording. Okay,
it's going to say 50th anniversary on it. It's 50th anniversary.
Listen, the fluff will change, but the core, the crunch, they may tweak one thing here or there, but this game is still selling.
They saw what happened to Paizo. They ain't going to go that direction. They are not going to go that direction.
So I like to, when it comes to RPG system, I like to say, okay, what is the core system, the core mechanic, and what are the lists that implement those core mechanics? Like, for example, roll a d20 to hit is a core mechanic. The fact that the actual to hit chance based on a level and stuff, and hit dice, that's a core mechanic. But then you have the list of spells, the list of monsters, and there's a lot you could do by keeping the core mechanic the same, but just altering the list.
Well,
I don't right behind me is a good example.
Oh yeah,
of that. This is definitely a 5e RPG, but it's also definitely a Middle Earth RPG because they didn't stint when it came to altering the list.
But here's the thing: my opinion is what they're going to do is, all right, they've updated orcs everywhere but the core books, right? They're going to relist when the core books come out again with a new update and a new coat of paint. Orcs will no longer be evil. All right, orcs will be just another adversarial race out there. I don't know, but that to me is as far as they're going to be willing to go, because if you do what Pathfinder did from Pathfinder 1 to Pathfinder 2, you alienate your players. Nobody wants to alienate the 5e community. It's too big. And
look what's happened to Pathfinder since it. It's splintered off into all these different directions because you have your first edition purists that they didn't switch. They don't care. They own $2,000 worth of books. They're not switching to your 2.0. Then you have the 2.0 people that swear it's better than 1.0. Then you got the Starfinder people. I mean, it's just it's split everywhere now. It's all.
I'm not a boomer, damn it. I wanted to be a boomer.
Is there any third parties supporting Pathfinder 1E?
Not anymore. Not after Frog Gub was the last, and we stopped doing it about 2 years ago. We were still putting out first edition Pathfinder for some of our fans, and it just wasn't worth the time or money. It's just not. I mean, you were printing out like 50 copies of our new stuff, or for our hardcore fans, but it's not our job to keep Pathfinder 1.0 alive, and that's when we finally came to our senses and said, this is not our job, unfortunately. If Pathfinder wants to put out 1.0 stuff, they can put out 1.0 stuff. So I don't think anybody is, Rob, since we stopped doing it, since Frog got stopped.
I remember when 2E got announced, there were whispers in the gaming community from some of these publishers that felt they got fucked by 2E, and we're working on products already, that they wanted to do what Pathfinder did to Wizards of the Coast. And instead of just saying, oh, we're going to kill 3.5, no, we'll just make 3.75. And they were talking about making like a Pathfinder 1.1. And it didn't happen because honestly, the Pathfinder market had already shrunk at that point.
So what Pathfinder did, for those that don't know, because I have an inside scoop on this. So Pathfinder had this long-standing, I guess, handshake deal with publishers that published Pathfinder material that, look, if we ever decide to do a 2.0, we'll let you know. The reason is because a lot of these projects, like let's say, that Tom Canals writes something for Pathfinder, because he was our big Pathfinder writer for Frog God. It takes months. He doesn't just write it and turn it in the next day we publish it. It takes months to go through editing, to go through all these processes before it actually appears. So you're talking about this probably 8 months, lag time between when he turns in the manuscript to when we run a Kickstarter for it and it comes out. So all that the publishers say is, look, if something ever happens, let us know, because we've spent a lot of money on these projects, and if you're going to come out with Pathfinder 2.0 and we have all these 1.0 books come out, nobody's going to buy them. They're worthless. Well, guess what happened to Frog God Games? That we found out by accident at a Christmas party the year before that, yes, they were going to do 2.0. Sorry, we didn't tell you. Ha ha ha. That's basically what the conversation was, because we asked if this is true. Is this true? They said, yeah. Ha ha ha. So we had to cancel all Tom Canals' projects, and we paid him, but we had all these projects we couldn't do anything with at that point, because there's no point putting out Pathfinder 1.0 when the next month Pathfinder 2.0 is going to come out. Now those projects, some of them have eventually been published as generic OSR type projects, but you have to have somebody go in there as an editor and rip out all the 3.0 stuff, and it was just a mess. And we weren't the only company that got kicked in the nads with that. A lot of companies got kicked in the nads. So there was a lot of really bad feelings about this, because it was a secret. And they had said for years, what was Pathfinder's line? They'd said for years, we will never come out with Pathfinder 2.0. They said that over and over for years. You're going to sell this stuff. We're not like those other companies. We are never going to make all your rule books obsolete. Well, that's exactly what they did. They effed their fans over. They said, oh yeah, we lied about that. We're just joking. We're going to have 2.0. And by the way, it's not backwards compatible either. You have to buy all new books.
So I totally understand Fraud God's decision, the way you operate it, but I just popped over on Drive Through RPG to look at who is adding Pathfinder 1E titles. And since the beginning of July, there looks to be one, two, no, not those. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 products added specifically for 1E. They all look like publishers like me, small one-man outfits.
And that's what you're going to have.
Yeah, that's what you're going to have. And you have that for a lot of systems still, though. I mean, there's still people that put out Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff, or whatever, Paranoia stuff. You're always going to have those people that do that, those niche publishers, but there's no big publisher handling that anymore. There's just not enough money in it, because like I was saying, we would put out Pathfinder versions of all our stuff, along with putting out Sword of Wizardry and a 5th edition version, and the Pathfinder print run would be like 100. I mean, it's just not huge, and sometimes we wouldn't even sell out. We would sell out. We'd print to order, so we're selling out. A lot of the time we're selling out, but sometimes we wouldn't, and we're stuck with these Pathfinder 1.0 modules that now nobody really wants. Maybe they'll be collectible one day. I don't know. So I think these smaller people they're catering to a niche audience, which is great, because you could probably make money if you're willing to publish a niche product like that. But it's not a big.
I'm looking through the hottest list and picking out some of these. None of them have sales. Most of them don't have sales medals.
Yeah.
Because
look, if you play Pathfinder 1.0, Rob, you have all the material you'll ever need in your life. That's why I've never, as a D&D fan, I always laugh when there's edition wars. I'm like, why is there edition war? I have all the first D&D material I'll ever play in my entire life. I mean, I'll never need to open another book if I want. I don't care what WotC does anymore. It doesn't matter to me. It's not my concern. And now with the OSR, there's even more options.
Well, you'll be pleased to know for Pathfinder OGL 1E that Tube of Horrors is sitting at number 22. For Pathfinder, the version that's for Pathfinder.
It's a good book. I've actually got the 5e version, and have converted some stuff, and I have the original Tome of Horrors complete, which my prior cat knocked a glass of water.
Oh, blame the cat. Yeah.
Well, listen, she used to like to drink from like a 25-ounce like glass mug on my desk, but I guess I let the water get down too far, so she had to like reach in
Come
and
on. You need a
tip and then tip. So
use one of these. It has a little thing that locks, and you don't have those issues, man. Come on.
no, this was meant for the cat.
21st century, baby.
Yeah, my kitty cat cannot open up that cup. That's not gonna. Our current kitty, she drinks from a water bowl. She hasn't learned other tricks yet, thank God. Cats teach themselves tricks that they like, not the ones that you like.
So the answer to the original question we got way off track on, it's going to be the softest of reboots. We don't think it's going to be anything. It's going to be the 50th anniversary. They have to put out something because it's 50th anniversary, but it's going to be basically all the changes that have come by, the last few years. They're going to throw it in there and maybe throw in a couple other things. Who knows? And that's going to be pretty much it. They're going to be done, and people are going to buy it because it's 50th anniversary. It's going to have 5 covers. I don't know. It'll have something. There'll be something.
It'll have 2 different covers. I can guarantee you that one.
2 different covers, and they'll, one will be a homage to the original something, and one will be something else, and whatever. And everybody will run out and buy one because 50th anniversary, like I said.
And that's the reason why you reboot is for money. But
speaking of reboots, so there was an outfit. I don't have a link, but that released a pretty nice looking Greyhawk 576 PDF.
Yes, I saw it on Facebook, but I didn't get a chance.
And I bring it up because the Wizards fan policy is pretty liberal. You just can't sell it, and you can't put it behind a paywall. But they give you pretty much, and you can't be a reprint. So my digital Greyhawk map, probably a little bit of a gray area there, but you could do quite a bit with it.
Let's see, John Miller. I play with the old stuff. I'm not sure if Wizards of the Coast or any plausible successor capable of producing D&D that I would want to play. Listen, I don't think 5e is a bad system. I don't. I think it's a good system. It's just not a system that I want to invest the time in learning. I could probably play it as a player and have fun, but as a DM, no.
Here's one thing: 5e will never die because it's under the OGL as well.
Yeah. Listen, TSR, Evil Cheese, TSR had so much crap out too about the D&D branding. So whether it's crappy journals or notebooks, pencils or pens, we saw it all in the past. We will see it all again. Yes. Hope might spring eternal, but eternal is merchandising. Well, again, you see, I can't. Again, it's not a system that I would invest my time in, but I've certainly taken some 5e resources from third parties and have said, "Hey, this will work really well with the OSR," because converting from 5e to the OSR is simply removing shit. Moving from the OSR to 5e, you got to fill in shit. It's always easier to knock it down.
Well, you know what I did, Eric? I made a 5e version of my Majestic Waterland supplement.
You are a crazy man, so you're crazy. I tell you.
The thing about 5e you have to remember is that the rule system itself has some good ideas and nothing's broken. What people usually object to is the wokeness or the new, hey, we got to worry about this social problem type stuff. I don't think people look at the rule systems and complain too much, maybe about the healing surges type thing, you can never die.
Right.
But other than that, the rules are, that they have some good things, some bad things, like any other rule system. Yeah, I just don't think that's what they're complaining about mostly when they complain about 5e.
Yeah, if you have a specific example about this whole wokeness business, I'll be happy to comment on it. But in general, I take people at face value and not worry about what they do. I really hate the they when people say.
Well, that's like I said before. If you're not playing 5e, why are you worrying about it? And because there's so much older material out there to mess with. It's kind of like old grumpy old men, right? I mean, that's what it boils down to. Is well, this guy, these movies are terrible nowadays. Randolph Scott was kick ass. They need a hero like Randolph. I mean, it's that same kind of mindset. I don't and Eric and I talked about this a lot. I know Eric gets a lot hotter about this stuff than I do because I'm just kind of like, I just don't care. I know it's disrespectful to the elders of the hobby to throw something in there that says, oh, by the way, we didn't. These people that wrote this stuff back then, we don't think like that anymore. That's just awful. When you're not being specific about what you want to say that they did wrong or that was racist or bigoted, it basically tars everybody that worked at TSR from 1974 to whatever 2010 with this brush that you're not being specific about what you're painting them. So I don't like stuff like that, but it still doesn't bother my enjoyment of the game because I ignore it. I don't care. It's not.
Well, here's the thing. Important. It's just like when somebody gets grumpy about the OSR. You can fix it. There's open content. There's a 5e SRD. Wizard doesn't have any right of approval over. There's not even a trademark license where they could use, like they did for D20, where they can kind of use it as a hammer. But so you have a problem with something in 5e, come out with your own 5e centric take. I mean, the only complaint I have about 5e that currently stand as a writer is the Warlock class. To tweak it into something that you want to make for your own setting is total baloney. They got 3 or 4 things going on there, and the things they have there makes no sense. I think it's just a repository for cool powers. Every other class I was able to make work with how I view my Majestic Waterland or my Majestic Fantasy realm now. But the Warlock, I really like the idea of they're not a cleric of a god. They have a supernatural patron and get powers from it. I like that. I love that idea. And I have some ideas for it, but actually trying to make something consistent with it, with the core class, because I like to do what I do, but change as little as possible. Change the minimum I need to do what I do with the core system. I did that with Swords and Wizardry, and I did that with most of 5e, but the Warlock, I just can't. It's just a repository for cool powers.
Isn't that 5e in general? I mean, and I'm not going to. We're not going to start on this because it's already 2 hours into the stream.
We don't have time to tear apart 5e. Come on, man.
Do this for a whole 2 hours talking about.
Well, I didn't have a problem taking the druid, the ranger, the fighter, the wizard, and all tweaking all of them the way I like them, the way they work in my Majestic Waterland. I didn't have any problem. Just the Warlock. I couldn't make the mechanics of the Warlock reflect what? There's too many things going. There's the Warlock spells, the invocation, and their patron boon. So you got 3 subsystems you want to you need to modify if you want to make a unique take on the Warlock, and it's just too much work for the interest I have in it. But every other class, I could make the fighter subclass I wanted. I could make the ranger subclass I wanted, and so forth down the line. It's like, yeah, I can do that.
The biggest complaint I received about pretty much any D&D past 2E is the fact that it always falls apart at high levels. It just doesn't, even with 3E, it doesn't support high level play that much because you just get more and more hit points and more powers, and it's apparently. This is what I hear. For a DM, it's really hard to put together an adventure that can really challenge characters at high level. Now, it's not that hard to do it at low level, and this is what I hear. I don't know.
I don't know. I find it all together easy to kill players in 5e. I mean, here's the thing you got to remember about 5e. The more characters, whether it's NPC or PC you have, you get not a logarithmic effect. You get a geometric effect. 8 characters. I mean, if you have your choice of taking 2 badass fighters, but taking 10 mediocre fighters, take the 10 mediocre fighters, because they, as a group, they have more hit points, they do more attacks, and they do just enough damage together that, the 2 fighters, the 2 badasses that are trying to fight this whole party, they'll just get blanket beat. The fighter with say a 5-man or 6-man party, they'll just have so many attacks going on, even if they're playing something as basic as a fighter champion, that those 2 guys don't have a chance. And so it's the same with the at the high level. If you want to do high level fights, then you still want to have the big bad, your Orcus or whatever. But the key to keep yourself sane that I have found is just take a whole bunch of I can't really, but 3 hit dice, 2 hit dice creatures.
Minions, we used to call them in 4E.
In 4E, but they're not quite that way in 5E. They're actually characters in their own right. And because of bounded accuracy, they have a more than a 5% chance of hitting the party. So, I mean, if all you need to do is add enough minions, and any high level party is going to go down. If they're going to get swamped and go down. And 5E, I found compared to 3E and 4E it's way easier to manage like that.
See, Rob, we're gonna have to bring you back for like a game theory episode. This was, folks, for those who don't realize who came in late, Rob was not our intended guest. Rob was supposed to be harassing Jason
Our
Hobbs.
intended guest.
Our intended guest. And instead, Rob joined us for the whole stream, which is awesome and amazing. And you can catch Rob every other Friday night, every second and fourth Friday of the month, because you will find Rob on the Random Generated Party.
Except
when it's on the
Wait a minute, so that means we're not having a random party this Friday?
Well, this is the yeah, we are, because it's the second Friday, right? We're the second and the fourth.
The problem with Random Generated Party, though, is Joe the lawyer talks over you all the time, and you're trying to talk, and Joe interrupts you 6 times when you're trying to tell a story. So,
well, see, the Hobbs rules in effect, because I got on Hobbs and friend and didn't let him speak for 20 minutes. So Tim warned me, Rob, remember Jason Hobbs? And I said, okay, yes. So I just let Joe prattle on. But if you want me to unleash,
Courtney wants to unleash. I'll talk about game theory with Rob. Honest to God, that is an episode where Mike and we will just interrupt to read off comments from the.
I could take a nap. Yeah, that'd be great.
No, that would be. Oh man, we could sell tickets for that.
And I don't know how I got on to writing freaking rules, because I'm a setting guy. I'm an adventure guy. I'm more about role playing stuff. But I would, I wanted to share my stuff back in the late 2000s, and the best way to share it happened to be classic D&D, because I didn't, you saw how Points of Light was. You can get away with minimal stat with D&D, and if somebody from D20 World or 3.5 happened to like it, and later 4E, they could just sub in whatever their monster manual said. So sub in, and it'll still work. But the whole reason I got into rules is because I don't do a whole lot of physical sales, but the few I do, I want to succeed at. And if you don't have a freaking rule book, selling Scourge of the Demon Wolf, selling Blackmar, selling even my Majestic Waterland supplement, it's really hard. And I know the Frog God Games try to make Swords and Wizardry available as much as possible, but really, you just need your own rule book.
Oh God, you're looking at somebody who has his own rules.
Yeah,
I understand it.
So if I was going to get into it, I was going to do it right. So I play tested my Majestic Fantasy RPG for years, and only now I'm starting to publish bits and pieces, because I believe that anybody publishing, if you want to get best result, you should eat your own dog food and run the thing. Not just once, but multiple times before you inflict it on the audience. And because of that, now I got some opinion on game theory,
I always said that when I was younger, that you're not really playing the game properly until you create your own setting. Because when you start creating your own setting, and I didn't do that till the 90s. I played 20 years using, Greyhawk or Forgotten Realms or whatever, generic settings. But once you start creating your own setting, you really get into the kind of world you want to run, and you start realizing game balance. You start figuring out, what do I want, not want, and what do I, when I play, what do I like and what do I not like? Because one of the first things we did is I never ever liked level limits on demi-humans. I didn't. It's a very artificial meta construct. It's very much of a construct. And so the first thing I would tell the players is, there's no level limits on demi-humans. Well, guess what? Everybody still didn't want to play a dwarf or an elf. It turned out they wanted to role play. They wanted to role play a human priest or a human something like that. And I think that was the human centric area of Gary. Gary was very human centric in the game and didn't want the demi-humans to outshine the humans. So he put those very artificial meta rules in effect. Well, getting rid of them was one of the happiest days I ever had because I never liked it. I just didn't see the point of it and never understood it and tossed them and never looked back 30 years later. When I never looked back and said, hey, we've had some great games.
Now you said that, what happened if you create like multiple game settings? Like some that you never use and put a lot of work
Rob, I don't have that much time. I don't know how you have that much time either. I don't have that much
time. I mean, I have all the, I have a whole, and I'm not going to show it, but I have a whole crate full of, Wonderland stuff that I created. But I only have this for this.
I did one setting with one Pantheon, one set of rules. I can't think about doing all this other stuff. It's just too much, man. I don't have time. I don't have enough time in my life to do all that stuff. You have too much time on your hands, man. Do all that stuff.
I got 40 years and I never lost my shit. So that's what happened. When did I create this? This bad boy, I even have it labeled. See, I don't know if you can see that, 1988.
Damn.
Okay, so I made this. So, yeah, so it's not, all these drawings I made are from the early 90s and late 80s. So, no, it's just, yeah.
I've done a simpler system. Now, since then, I also have what I call my OSR system, which is a very, because we play a version of pretty much 2E to this day, but I have a very grinded down system that's basically riffs off of Eric's Continual Light. But other than that, I have no desire to create multiple settings just because I put my heart and soul in the setting I work now. Every campaign we've had has added a little bit lore to that setting. Now I have all this lore associated with this one setting, and they just found out in the last few years a piece of lore that I'd hid from them for 30 years that they didn't know about a god who had died centuries earlier that had actually come back as another god. I never revealed that, and they found that out eventually as part of a plot line of something I ran recently. And they're like, well, how long has this been going on? I said, this has always been in the setting. You just never figured it out before. Like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Yeah, and truth to be told, I mean, that folder there was my doodle setting, Rob's original setting. But when it came down to the brass tacks and running the campaign, well, hell, even though I'm working on Majestic Fantasy Realm, I'm still running the Majestic Waterland because that's what my players want to play in.
Right.
They say, hey, Rob, so Joe goes, hey, I really would like to adventure in City State. And Tim goes, oh, yeah, you should totally adventure in City State, Joe, and talk to everybody. So now I'm running City State, You asked, I provide. That's always been...
Yeah, I always thought when we retired, we'd have enough time, but retirement's busy too. I'm close to retirement. I still don't have any time to run all these games I'd ever want. I'm still only running one game a month. I mean, I'd love there to be more time because I had so many things I'd love to run, but I would love to run multiple settings. We had a great
here's a
growing up in Greyhawk that was awesome.
Here's a non-gaming observation. When I was, say, 8 or 9, it seems to me, and I don't know why I have this particular memory, but I was about that age, and I thought, it was in the middle of the afternoon, and I thought, this is an awesome afternoon. It is bright, sunny, the right temperature, and it's going on forever. And now, I'm 50, I'm over 55, and I blink, and my afternoon is gone.
Yeah.
Did you notice the time is accelerating for you guys?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yes, oh, definitely.
Even tonight, I'm logging into all this. And Rachel's like, "What time is it?" I go, "It's like 7:40." She's like, "Already?" I'm like, "What time do you think it was?" She goes, "I thought it was like 5:30." I'm like, "No, it's 7:40." So yeah, the time does get away from you. I in retirement, I don't know how the hell I did 3 or 4 blog posts a day when I was working. Because retired, I can barely get in one a day, but I'm also doing videos. I'm doing 3 live streams a week. I get to play in a game a week. But as a kid, I would be like, oh, retired. I'll be playing 24/7. I don't even turn on video games. My PS3 and my Xbox One, they don't get turned on.
Oh, for me, it's playing Hearts of Iron, Crusader King 3, Crusader King. I like what they call them God games because you take a high level view and run a country or
Right.
interstellar empire. Gee, if I turned on that, and next thing if I sit down, eat my breakfast, turn it on at 9 o'clock, next thing I know, it's freaking 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Like shit, I didn't do any writing yet.
Yeah,
Like,
there you go. That's part of it. That is part of the issue with getting old. Now, and it's funny because again, we're at the 2 hour and 10 minute mark, and I've had not a lot of people. I've had one specific request for shorter, more focused live streams. You're never going to get that shit because, and honestly, the reason why you're not going to get that is because we work off the audience. The live stream audience is what inspires us, is what sets us off. It's we don't come into this with a script. If I was going to do a script, I might as well be doing like a radio play. Okay, so our show prep is some things to talk about, but it's not focus. If you know me, if you know Mike, you should know that focus is not our strong points. Yappiness.
Huh? Oh yeah.
Huh?
True.
Yeah. Shit. Oh, Robert.
Yeah, we even had a Ken Whitman sighting tonight. By the way, Ken, if you want to say that 80% of everything we believe isn't true, you're gonna have to, man. You got to pull out some receipts, baby. I'm sorry that you got to bring your A game if we do an interview because we know people. Let's just put it that way. We know people who know things, so you're really gonna have to work.
Well, all you need is some beer. Then you can just literally say, "I drink in those things."
Damn it! I didn't.
That's
bring
my job in life. I drink in those things.
My beer is still in the fridge. God damn it!
Oh my god! I had no alcohol tonight. Holy shit!
Yeah, I'll have to drink afterwards.
Oh, it's my fault. I'm a total
it is.
detailer.
It's Rob's fault. Rob's trying to.
Somehow I knew, Rob. Normally I have like my
nothing.
My soft drink, like my punch, and then usually have a beer or a glass of wine with me. And if it's wine, it's a double glass. And I had neither one. Whit's still with us, so he says no problem.
I drank water all night, so I was very thirsty. But
well, it's
damn, I didn't have a cold beer. That's a first, man.
Yeah, no,
that's terrible. That's terrible. That's just terrible.
All right, Ken. Well, Ken, you know how to contact me because you've sent me enough contact in the past. We will reach out and maybe we'll get something ready for next Wednesday. We shall see. I make no promises. It is the summertime, but we'll work on it if you're interested in it. But like Mike said, you are not going to be if you've ever seen us, all right, and what we've covered, you're not going to get softball questions, and we may have the answers to questions before we ask them. Actually, I was a cop. I always had answers to my questions before I asked them. So if we're asking you a question, we likely already know the answer. We're just looking to see what answer you're going to give.
I got a question for Ken Whitman. What the hell was up with First Survey and for Traveler 480?
God, that's
I really was looking forward, and it was
holy crap! It
was one of the shittiest cover projects ever made. Products ever made.
Wow, Ken.
I had a random generator on a DOS computer that could do a better job than that First Survey.
Holy crap!
See, I told you, Ken, you were gonna get asked.
I'm gonna have to pull that up just see if I remember that.
Am I right? Ken was involved with
Oh my god! I forgot all about that.
I don't look at me. I know.
Well, it burns and it's still with me today. I have that piece of shit on my desk or on my shelf.
Oh, I have. Yeah, I forgot all about that. Wow. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Literally, Vlan, the capital of the First Imperium, had 40,000 people.
I think my hometown has it.
The fact that Rob knows these numbers and can pull them out without any prompting, Rob, I am humbled. Fourth edition was an interesting thing. Now, was fourth edition the one that came out on a CD-ROM and
No, that's 5e.
Rob would know.
oh, that's the
Rob,
fifth
yeah.
edition. That's the one that gave me my membership card in the Imperium.
No, that was 5e.
All right, then I must have
That was
So I'm out of my depth here. Not a Traveler, guys. Sorry.
Oh, I love Traveler, but there was a time I was not into.
this is fourth edition.
Oh, okay. You know what? I own that, and I don't think I ever cracked the book open. Okay.
And wait. Where is
And
it?
Rob,
Yeah.
you're thankful that you're
And-
going to
And this is the piece of shit.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Rob
want to
had
hear
that-
me on
Rob has
game
that
design?
sitting right there.
Yes, I have.
Rob had it
opinions.
sitting right there. Wow. Amazing.
I mean, that's.
It's crazy talk.
Oh,
So what are you guys going to be talking about in a random generated party this Friday?
We never know.
I don't know. I'm
Same,
sure they'll
just
think
like
of
this
something.
show, that it's all over the place, huh?
What's going
Oh.
to happen is, during the next 2 days, Matt Jackson will throw out a lot of interesting topics, and then he won't show up for the show.
Of course not. He'll fall off the ladder somewhere. But boom.
Yeah, Matt. Will,
No. His MO is he's riding an ATV somewhere drinking beer and having a hell of a good time.
Yeah, doesn't want to hang out with us little peons.
We want to talk, Eric and I, real quick. Do you want to pimp Jim Kitchen's auction?
Yes.
Tomorrow, or I'm sorry, Friday.
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me. The easiest link for me to grab is going to be from the tavern. So I'm going to grab this. Actually, you know what? I'm going to actually not just grab it. I'm going to put it up on the screen real quick. Because, folks, we have a live stream every Friday at 8 o'clock. And, of course, we always want you watching because you make it all awesome for us, and you do. So, however, on the the Goodman Games Twitch channel, there's a charity auction for Aaron Coleman, and Aaron has a stage 4 cancer. Honestly, his odds of survival are low single digits. And this auction, which the people who have donated stuff includes our very own Bad Mike, Julian Bernick, Hector Cruz, Jen and Bob Brinkman, David Beatty, Joseph Goodman, John Hirschberger, Kenneth Kessinger, Jim Kitchen himself, Doug Kovacs, original artwork, Ian McCartney, Peter Mullen, I believe it's original artwork, Errol Otis, the same, James Posenel, Yorkus Rex, James Michael Spahn, we all know James, Dak J. Ultimac, big DCC writer, Lowe's The Eye. There's going to be an auction. It starts at 8 p.m. Eastern on the Goodman Games channel on their Twitch. As much as I would love to have you with us on our stream, I think that would mean even more if you intended to buy something. Now, if you don't want to buy something, you can go to the very blog post that I'm putting up now, and it'll give you instructions on what the tavern will do to match straight out donations, where you send them. Black Blade Publishing is taking donations via PayPal. We've already had from taverners, I think it's about $75, maybe $80, come in. I've gotten emails, I've gotten PMs, and I've gotten Discord PMs. So all I need, if you'd rather be watching our show, thank you, I appreciate it. If you got $5, you can get this fund. It's a fund for this man's young son. He's 6, going to soon be without a father, and to pay their education going forward.
That's a big point. This isn't going to his hospital care or his anything like that. Like Eric said, his chances of survival are extremely low. Extremely low. And so this is going to go to his son, his educational fund, so he can go ahead and go to school, because his dad's not going to. There's a really, really good chance his father's not going to be around pretty soon. So
I've heard that again. We'll say low single digits. It's less than 1 in 20. It's 2 to 3% that it's a very invasive cancer. He's doing what he needs to do. This is one of those times where you got to think, what can I do to help out? It is an evil cheese. I mean, EC is in law enforcement. We've spoken, and I've always said that law enforcement as a community, we're always every week I was on that job, there was always somebody in a 50,000 person department that had a child or family member. There was sad stuff. Our community is at least as giving as the law enforcement community that I was a part of for 20 years. So if you can, if you want to watch the auction and maybe bid on stuff, awesome. If you'd rather be watching our live stream, that's great too. But if you got, hey, how much does coffee cost at Starbucks? I don't drink that shit, but probably like $4 or $5. Skip it one day, toss it to Blackblade, save it for the charity fund. Let me know, and I will make sure it gets matched. Okay, I mean this is the important shit in the community. Everything else is bullshit, right? We can bitch about people, we can bitch about companies, we can bitch about influencers, we can bitch about systems that we don't like. But situations like this is where your feet hit the ground and it becomes something. This is something. All right, I can't state that enough.
This is Friday. This must be Friday. So yeah, I'll be there. I definitely want to check this out and probably throw some bids on some stuff. If nothing else, I'm going to make the deep pockets guys bid more. I'll sit there and drop prices just for giggles.
Yes, you see 1013 parties, but not just 1013 parties. Just you have somebody from the club or the delegate in the command going around collecting money. That's going to be put in an envelope. That's going to be collected by the borough. That's going to go down to the individual's command because whatever the fuck just happened to them, their child, their family. I mean, I was in a command where a young father lost their wife to cancer, had 2 sons under the age of 10, and then one son got injured, seriously injured, needed full hospice care for about a year. And I've never seen a community do so much for one person, but I'd like to see something like that happen now. Honestly, I mean, this gentleman, Aaron, is very well known in the ACC community. Very well liked, very well respected. But the OSR in gaming is larger than just one little community, and I'd like to see everybody who can do what they can. Yes, evil cheese passing the hat. So on that note, don't bitch at me for being depressing. It's actually positive because you can give. It's a positive event. All right, folks. A huge thank you to Rob for stepping up. I swear to God,
it's great.
Yeah, the situation is sad, but it's a good thing that we can help out. So
yes,
everybody pitch in.
And that's why, like I said, the generosity of this community, the tavern community, whether here or at the tavern on the blog side, is huge. I have done matches of 150, 250, when the funds are available, up to 500, and you all have hit those marks. When I did the charity for St. Jude's and did the yoga dressed as an idiot, we raised over $1,500. That is a very generous community. Please be generous. Other than that, I'm not going to do much about my COVID speech other than use your common sense. You're all adults. Because I look at the statistics, the analytics for this channel. You're all adults. Okay? We probably don't have very many under the age of 25 watching this. So you're an adult, use your common sense. All right? Just do that. That's all I ask. You know your risk factors. You know where you live. Use your common sense. Be safe, be well. God bless. Roll those dice. Roll them well. Please, if you can help out Aaron, do so. And I will be back again tomorrow. And if you're on the Discord server, 9 p.m. tomorrow, the Speakeasy channel. We do a hangout every week.
The attendance has been getting better on that, by the way. The attendance has been getting, for a while, it was like 4 of us, or 4 or 5 of us.
Now we
up quite a
can
bit.
some people up, Yeah,
it's been picking up. That's good.
Yeah. So, all right, folks. Yes, climbing that mountain. I'm not going to wipe your ass.
Oh,
you're right.
In on that visual.
But here. Know where I learned that line from? Brother Hugh, when I was 18 and I worked at my local church, my local parish. Swear to God, it's the first time I heard I'm not going to wipe your ass. I was like, oh, my Lord. All right, folks. On that note, thank you, Klein.
That's a great visual. Thanks, Eric.
Isn't it?